The Xelorian fleet, composed of sleek ships that glimmered like cosmic jewels, orbited the Xiforian nebula. Inside one of the larger vessels, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Commander Vaxen, known for his sharp intellect and insatiable curiosity, stood at the helm, gazing at the vibrant blue-green planet below their long-observed target, Earth. For generations, the Xelorians had viewed humans as sleeping giants. Their history was rife with conflict, yet also marked by extraordinary leaps in creativity and innovation. Vaxen recalled stories of human achievements, breathtaking art, scientific breakthroughs, and deep emotional connections. The duality fascinated him. Humanity's potential seemed to lie dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. "Commander, our probes are ready," Lyra, his chief strategist, interrupted his thoughts. She was a brilliant tactician, often grounding Vaxen's dreams with practical insight. "We should initiate the probe's scanning sequence." "Do it," Vaxen replied, excitement tingling in his veins. As the probe descended towards Earth, data began to stream in images of bustling cities, serene countrysides, and humans engaging in their daily lives. Vaxen observed the scenes unfolding on the monitor: children playing, artists passionately creating, and scientists pondering the mysteries of the universe. Each moment captured the essence of humanity's spirit. He felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, an empathy blossoming within him. "They express such depth in their emotions," Lyra noted, leaning closer to the screen. "Their joy, their sorrow, it's almost palpable." "Indeed," Vaxen mused. "Perhaps their greatest strength lies not in their physicality, but in their capacity for connection." Just as Vaxen began to lose himself in the beauty of human experiences, the ship's alarm blared. Red lights flashed, light the command deck. "We're being detected," Lyra shouted, urgency punctuating her voice. "Shut down the probe. Cloak our presence," Vaxen ordered. But the ship shuddered as an energy wave rippled through the space around them. On Earth, a group of scientists monitoring the stars caught the unusual signal emanating from the Xelorian fleet. "It's a strong signal unlike anything we've seen before," one scientist remarked, a mix of fear and curiosity in his eyes. The group quickly gathered around the console, their minds racing with the implications. "What if it's a signal from extraterrestrial life?" another whispered, excitement bubbling beneath the surface. Back on the Xelorian ship, Vaxen felt a surge of adrenaline. "This is it. We've poked the bear. Now let's see what it does." He directed his crew to prepare for first contact protocols, his heart pounding with anticipation. "Commander, are we ready for this?" Lyra asked, her eyes reflecting concern. "We don't know how they will react." "Humanity has shown resilience. They have the capacity for understanding," Vaxen replied, his resolve strengthening. "We must take this leap." With a flick of his wrist, Vaxen initiated a communications channel. The screen flickered, revealing a live feed of Earth's surface. The scientists stared in disbelief, their faces a mix of awe and trepidation. "Greetings, inhabitants of Earth. We are the Xelorians," Vaxen's voice echoed, calm yet powerful. "We come in peace, seeking knowledge and understanding." The humans exchanged bewildered glances. One brave scientist, Dr. Elena Carter, stepped forward, her voice trembling yet steady. "Are you real? How do we know you're not a threat?" Vaxen sensed the fear, but also the curiosity that lay beneath. "We wish to learn about your kind, to understand why you are called sleeping giants." As discussions unfolded, Vaxen and Dr. Carter found common ground. They shared stories of human dreams and aspirations, of Xelorian technology, and their own history of discovery. Vaxen learned of the struggles humans faced, their triumphs, and the unique capacity for compassion that set them apart. As the dialogue deepened, Vaxen realized the true meaning behind sleeping giants. It was not merely a reference to strength, but a call to awaken the potential within. The encounter was merely the beginning of an intergalactic dialogue that could reshape both their futures. Yet, lurking in the shadows of the conversation was an underlying tension. What would happen if the giants truly awakened? What could this mean for the Xelorians? As both sides navigated the complexities of their new relationship, Vaxen felt the weight of destiny resting on their shoulders. Would humanity embrace their potential and connect with their cosmic neighbors, or would fear and misunderstanding drive them apart? The stakes were high, and the galaxy held its breath as the sleeping giants began to stir. The Xelorian ship pulsed with an otherworldly light as Commander Vaxen and Dr. Elena Carter continued their dialogue. The screen displayed a live feed of Earth, showing its vibrant landscapes and teeming cities. Vaxen felt a mix of exhilaration and apprehension. The moment felt monumental. They were on the brink of a transformative encounter. Elena leaned forward, her eyes filled with determination. "If you come in peace, then let's start by sharing knowledge. We've long speculated about the universe, but never have we been faced with such a reality." "Agreed," Vaxen replied, his voice resonating with sincerity. "Knowledge is the key to understanding each other. Tell me about your greatest achievements." As Elena recounted humanity's journey from the discovery of fire to the moon landing, Vaxen listened intently, captivated by the fervor in her voice. With each story, he felt the weight of the word giants grow heavier, imbued with meaning. Elena spoke of the resilience that defined humanity. "We've faced wars, natural disasters, and internal strife. Yet through it all, we rise. Our spirit is our greatest asset." Vaxen nodded, absorbing her words. "Your ability to unite in adversity is remarkable. On Xeloria, we have our own challenges, but we rely on harmony and collaboration. Your resilience is a trait worth emulating." As their conversation deepened, Vaxen initiated a sharing of his own. He showed Elena the breathtaking sights of Xiphoria, a planet of ethereal beauty, where the sky glowed with swirling colors and flora pulsed with bioluminescence. "Your world is stunning," Elena marveled. "We have much to learn from you." "And we from you," Vaxen replied. "It is clear that both our species hold potential far beyond what we currently understand." As the sun began to set over Earth, Vaxen proposed a historic gesture. "Let us formalize this first contact. A ceremony, perhaps, to celebrate our newfound connection. It could bridge the gap between our worlds." Elena's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "I love that idea. We can invite representatives from various fields: science, art, and philosophy. A celebration of knowledge and culture." Vaxen agreed, sensing that this ceremony could lay the groundwork for deeper relations. They worked together to outline the details, even discussing how to ensure that the event would be broadcast globally. However, not everyone was convinced. In the Xelorian fleet, Lyra watched the proceedings with skepticism. "Commander, are you sure this is wise? We know little of their history, and they have the capacity for destruction." "Exactly," Vaxen countered. "But they also have the capacity for greatness. We must take this chance to connect, or risk being forever distant." "Fear only perpetuates misunderstanding." Lyra crossed her arms, still unconvinced. "But what if they see us as a threat? The moment they realize we have the technology to travel through space." "We will show them we come in peace," Vaxen interrupted, determination firming his resolve. "This is not just about us, it's about their awakening." Meanwhile, preparations on Earth were in full swing. News of the first contact spread like wildfire, igniting excitement and apprehension. Dr. Carter coordinated with government officials and scientists to gather diverse representatives. "What if they have ulterior motives?" a fellow scientist asked, his voice laced with concern. "We must be cautious." Elena replied firmly, "We cannot allow fear to cloud our judgment. This is a moment for humanity to embrace the unknown." As the day of the ceremony approached, tension hung in the air. Many were captivated by the idea of a cosmic alliance, while others voiced fears of invasion or manipulation. The media amplified these anxieties, creating a tempest of speculation. Finally, the day arrived. The Xelorian ship hovered above a vast, open field where thousands of humans gathered, their faces turned upward with anticipation. The sun cast a warm glow over the scene, a beautiful backdrop for a moment that would define the future. Vaxen stood on the platform, flanked by Elena and a diverse group of human representatives. He felt a rush of exhilaration, a thrill coursing through him as he gazed at the sea of faces, each one reflecting a mixture of hope and skepticism. Elena stepped forward, her voice resonating through the air. Today marks a new beginning for humanity, a chance to connect with our cosmic neighbors. Let us welcome the Xelorians with open hearts. As she finished speaking, Vaxen took a deep breath, stepping up to the microphone. In the spirit of exploration and cooperation, we Xelorians extend our hands to you. Together, we can unlock the mysteries of the universe. The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of energy surging through the air. Vaxen felt a deep sense of connection with these humans, realizing that they were not so different after all. Both species sought understanding, connection, and purpose. As the ceremony continued, Vaxen shared knowledge of Xelorian technology, unveiling devices that could purify water, harness energy from stars, and enhance communication across vast distances. The humans marveled at the innovations, their imaginations igniting. "Imagine what we could achieve together," Elena said, her voice filled with excitement. "We can combine our strengths, share our knowledge, and build a better future." Yet, amidst the celebration, the seeds of doubt lingered. Some humans whispered among themselves, their eyes narrowed in suspicion. They questioned whether the Xelorians' intentions were as pure as they claimed. As dusk fell, Vaxen and Elena shared a moment alone, stepping away from the crowd. "Do you sense the tension?" she asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "Yes," Vaxen admitted. "Despite the excitement, I feel an undercurrent of fear. We must address this, or it may fester into something darker." Elena nodded, her determination unwavering. "We need to be transparent. Let's organize a forum, a space for open dialogue, where people can voice their concerns and ask questions." "Excellent idea," Vaxen agreed. "But we must also be prepared for the unexpected. Fear can lead to rash decisions." As they returned to the ceremony, Vaxen's mind raced. He understood that the path ahead would not be easy. Humanity was a tapestry of complexities, and while many embraced the idea of interstellar relations, others would resist. The ceremony concluded, but the ripple effect had just begun. News networks broadcast the event worldwide, capturing the moment for posterity. Social media exploded with reactions, opinions diverging across the spectrum. Some hailed the encounter as a historic achievement, while others expressed skepticism. "What do they want from us?" a post read. "We must protect our planet." As discussions unfolded, Vaxen and Elena watched from the Xelorian ship, both fascinated and concerned. The responses were varied, mirroring humanity's complexity. "Perhaps we underestimated their need for reassurance," Elena said, biting her lip. "They have every right to question us." "Fear is a natural response," Vaxen replied. "But it is how we navigate that fear that will define our relationship." The following days were filled with preparations for the forum. They crafted a structure that encouraged honest dialogue and opportunity for humans to voice their fears and for Xelorians to explain their intentions. As the event approached, Elena felt a mixture of excitement and dread. She had spent her life advocating for exploration and connection, but now the stakes felt higher than ever. The future of both their species lay in the balance. On the day of the forum, representatives from various fields gathered in a large auditorium, buzzing with energy. The atmosphere was electric, each person eager to engage in the unfolding narrative. As Vaxen stepped onto the stage, he felt the weight of countless eyes upon him. He inhaled deeply, steadying himself. "Thank you for joining us today. We come with open hearts and minds, ready to address your questions and concerns." Elena introduced the format, encouraging an open dialogue. "We want this to be a space for honest communication. Ask us anything." A scientist raised his hand. "What happens if we disagree? What if we want nothing to do with you?" Vaxen replied earnestly, "That is your choice. Our intent is not to impose, but to explore the potential of our relationship. If you choose to reject it, we will respect that decision." The room was silent for a moment before another voice called out, "How can we trust you? We have no reason to believe you won't exploit our resources." Elena spoke up, her voice firm yet compassionate. "Trust must be earned. We want to create a partnership built on mutual respect. We will share our knowledge and learn from each other." As the forum continued, a recurring theme emerged: fear of exploitation. Humans shared their histories of colonization and conflict, their skepticism rooted in painful memories. Vaxen listened intently, understanding the gravity of their concerns. "We acknowledge your history," Vaxen said, his tone sincere. "We do not wish to repeat the mistakes of others. Our goal is collaboration, not domination." Yet, despite their assurances, as the forum progressed, the atmosphere grew increasingly charged. Questions flew, some respectful, others laced with palpable fear. Vaxen and Elena exchanged glances, each silently gauging the mood of the audience. A voice rang out from the back of the auditorium. "What if you come here and manipulate us? You have the technology. You could easily overpower us." Vaxen felt a tightness in his chest. "I assure you, we are not here to subjugate. We seek to learn, to understand, and to share knowledge. Our greatest strength lies in cooperation." Elena stepped in, her tone earnest. "But we recognize that actions speak louder than words. We will demonstrate our commitment to transparency." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but the underlying skepticism remained. Another hand shot up. "Can you show us your technology? Prove that it can benefit us without putting us at risk?" Vaxen nodded. "We can demonstrate our energy technology and environmental restoration methods. Perhaps we can collaborate on projects that directly benefit your communities." Elena added, "Let's arrange field demonstrations. Let the people see the tangible benefits firsthand. We need to build trust through action." As the discussion continued, Vaxen felt the burden of responsibility weighing heavily on him. He had always believed in the potential for unity, but now that belief was being tested. Meanwhile, not all voices were hostile. A young woman stood up, her expression earnest. "I think this is an incredible opportunity. Imagine the advancements we could make. But I worry about those who are not as open-minded." Vaxen turned to her, encouraged by her enthusiasm. "You are correct. There will always be resistance to change, but every step forward begins with those willing to embrace it." Elena smiled at the woman. "Exactly. Together, we can create a movement that demonstrates the power of cooperation. Let's share our hopes and dreams for the future." But as they continued, the doubts lingered. A sense of division was palpable. Some in the audience were enthusiastic, while others remained skeptical, fearing the unknown. After the forum concluded, Vaxen and Elena returned to the Xelorian ship, their minds buzzing with thoughts and concerns. "What did you think?" Elena asked, her brow furrowed. "Promising, yet fraught with tension," Vaxen replied. "We've opened a dialogue, but it's clear we have much work ahead. Trust cannot be built in a day." Lyra approached, her expression serious. "Commander, the discussions were insightful, but I still sense that many are unwilling to accept us. What happens if they reject our overtures?" "That is a risk we must be willing to take," Vaxen replied. "But we will show them we come in peace, and that we can be allies in addressing the challenges they face." As they continued their discussion, an alarm blared through the ship. Vaxen and Elena exchanged worried glances. "What is happening?" Elena asked, her heart racing. Lyra checked her console. "We've detected an unauthorized vessel approaching our position. It's not responding to our hails." "Are we under attack?" Vaxen asked, his pulse quickening. "Not yet," Lyra replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "But we should be prepared for anything." The vessel, a small but agile craft, sped toward the Xelorian ship, its intentions unclear. Vaxen's mind raced with possibilities. Who could be behind this? As the small craft drew closer, Vaxen activated the ship's defenses, ready to respond to any threat. "Prepare for potential conflict. We cannot appear weak. Moments later, the small ship docked, and a figure emerged. A tall man with dark hair and piercing blue eyes stepped aboard, flanked by 2 armed guards. "Commander Vaxen," the man said, his voice smooth yet commanding. "I am Senator Caldwell. I represent a faction of humanity that is very concerned about your presence here." Elena bristled. "Senator, we were in the middle of a dialogue with our representatives. What brings you here?" "I believe your little gathering was ill-conceived," Caldwell replied, his eyes narrowing. "You don't truly understand what you're dealing with. Aliens have historically not come in peace." Vaxen felt tension crackle in the air. "We seek to understand your people, Senator, to share knowledge and foster cooperation." Caldwell scoffed. "And yet, you ask us to trust you. Trust is earned, not freely given. You must understand that many of us view your presence as a threat." "Senator, with respect, that kind of thinking only perpetuates division," Elena interjected. "We need to work together to solve the challenges facing both our species." "Challenges," Caldwell echoed, disbelief etched on his face. "Your challenges may lead to our extinction." Vaxen stepped forward, his demeanor calm yet firm. "We do not wish to impose harm. We offer partnership. It is only through collaboration that we can achieve mutual goals." But Caldwell remained unmoved, his skepticism unwavering. "We cannot afford to be naive. We must prepare for the worst. My faction will not support this alliance." With Caldwell's visit, Vaxen felt the tides shifting. What had started as an opportunity for collaboration now faced significant opposition. As Caldwell departed, he took his guards with him, leaving behind a lingering sense of unease. "What now?" Elena asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "We cannot allow a small faction to dictate our potential. We must double our efforts to engage with those who are open to dialogue," Vaxen replied. "We need to demonstrate the benefits of our cooperation through tangible results." In the days that followed, a counter-movement began to rise. Caldwell rallied those who feared the Xelorians, igniting distrust and resistance. Protests emerged, urging the government to take a stand against the alien presence. Meanwhile, Vaxen and Elena organized community projects aimed at showcasing their technology and the potential benefits of collaboration. They initiated environmental restoration programs, using Xelorian technology to purify water sources and rejuvenate landscapes. The results were promising. Communities began to see the positive impact of their efforts. Trees flourished, and once polluted rivers sparkled under the sun. Many citizens, witnessing the changes firsthand, began to shift their perspectives. Elena organized a public forum to showcase the results. "We've demonstrated that collaboration can yield tangible benefits. We invite everyone to witness the changes we've made together." But despite the success, opposition remained fierce. Caldwell's faction grew bolder, staging protests and spreading disinformation. "They're manipulating our environment to gain our trust," one placard read. "Don't be fooled." As the tension escalated, Vaxen and Elena found themselves at a crossroads. They needed to address Caldwell directly to confront the rising tide of opposition head-on. "Let's invite him to another forum," Elena suggested. "We need to challenge his narrative in front of the public." Vaxen agreed. "We must create a space for open dialogue, where questions can be addressed and misinformation dispelled." They planned the forum carefully, aiming for a balance between showcasing their achievements and allowing Caldwell to voice his concerns. On the day of the event, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Crowds gathered, some hopeful, others filled with skepticism. Vaxen stood at the podium, feeling the weight of expectations resting on his shoulders. "Thank you all for being here," he began. "Today, we gather to discuss our future and address the questions that weigh heavily on many minds." Elena took the stage beside him, her demeanor steady. "We're here to show that collaboration is possible and beneficial, but we cannot do this without addressing the fears that some of you have." Caldwell approached, his presence commanding attention. "And what of the risks? You ask us to trust you, but your very nature is alien to us. What guarantees can you provide? Vaxen took a deep breath. We cannot offer guarantees for every possible outcome. What we can offer is transparency and shared goals. Let us demonstrate our commitment to working together, not just through words but through actions. Caldwell's expression hardened. Actions can be deceiving. History shows us that trusting the unknown can lead to devastation. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, some nodding in agreement with Caldwell's stance. Vaxen felt a knot form in his stomach. The challenge was greater than he had anticipated. We acknowledge the past, Senator, Vaxen replied. But we cannot allow history to dictate our future. Let us create a new narrative together. As the forum continued, Elena stepped forward. We've demonstrated our technology, and we've seen the positive impact it can have. But we need your voices, your experiences to shape our collaboration. The crowd listened intently, a mix of skepticism and hope lingering in the air. Some shouted questions, while others hesitated, grappling with their emotions. Can we trust them? A voice called out. What's to stop them from taking what they want? The atmosphere in the auditorium shifted as the crowd absorbed the weight of the questions. Vaxen sensed the tension. The doubts were palpable, and the stakes were higher than ever. He needed to connect on a deeper level beyond technology and politics. Elena stepped forward again, her voice steady. Trust is built through shared experiences. We are all aware of the shadows of history, but we have the power to shape our future. What we do together matters more than where we come from. Caldwell, arms crossed, remained unyielding. And what if you seek to manipulate us under the guise of collaboration? History has taught us to be wary. Vaxen took a moment to collect his thoughts. Perhaps we can share personal stories. Allow us to show you who we are beyond our technology. Stories can light our shared humanity. A murmur of curiosity rippled through the audience. Caldwell's expression softened slightly, though skepticism still lingered in his eyes. Elena nodded. Let's invite members from both our communities to share their experiences. It could help foster understanding. Vaxen felt a flicker of hope. Agreed. Let's create a space for dialogue, where both sides can express their fears and aspirations. As the forum transitioned, representatives from both sides took the stage, sharing tales of their lives. A Xelorian engineer recounted his journey of discovery, explaining how his people had come to value cooperation over conflict. A human artist spoke of the transformative power of creativity, explaining how art had bridged divides in her own community. The stories painted a tapestry of resilience and aspiration, captivating the audience. Vaxen listened intently, feeling the connections grow stronger. As each voice shared their truth, the atmosphere began to shift. People leaned forward, captivated by the shared narratives. But Caldwell remained skeptical. These stories are compelling, but they do not guarantee safety. Words alone cannot erase the fears we carry. True, Vaxen replied, but actions can speak volumes. We are prepared to take steps to prove our commitment to this partnership. Let us work together on projects that benefit both our worlds. The crowd was silent, considering the proposition. Elena added, We want to create a coalition of sorts, an initiative where both humans and Xelorians collaborate on environmental restoration and technological advancements. The idea seemed to resonate. Vaxen saw heads nodding, but he also noticed the lingering doubts in Caldwell's eyes. What does that entail? Caldwell asked, still cautious. We could begin with a joint project to revitalize a local ecosystem, Vaxen proposed. Let the results speak for themselves. It will show our dedication to mutual benefit. Caldwell hesitated, weighing the possibilities. And what happens if this initiative fails? What will you gain from it? The knowledge that we tried, Vaxen replied earnestly. And if we succeed, it will create a foundation of trust. After a tense pause, Caldwell's stance softened. I will consider your proposal, but I remain cautious. You have much to prove. The audience reacted with a mix of relief and renewed hope. Elena seized the moment. Let's collaborate. Let's establish a working group to outline the project and address any concerns as we move forward. The crowd erupted in applause, a sign that the seeds of cooperation were taking root, even amidst lingering doubts. Vaxen felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. In the following days, Vaxen and Elena worked tirelessly to bring together a coalition of humans and Xelorians. They organized meetings to discuss the details of the joint project, focusing on environmental restoration. Elena reached out to community leaders, scientists, and activists, emphasizing the importance of collaboration. We have a unique opportunity to create something beautiful together, she urged. Let's put aside our fears and focus on the potential. Vaxen, alongside his Xelorian team, prepared to share their technology and expertise. They envisioned a project that could not only restore a local habitat, but also serve as a beacon of hope for future cooperation. After discussions, they settled on a degraded wetland on Earth's coast, a site that had suffered from pollution and neglect. The area was critical for local biodiversity, but had long been overlooked. During a meeting at the site, Elena stood with Vaxen and local leaders, all eyes focused on the muddy expanse before them. This will be our canvas, she declared. Together, we can restore it to its former glory. A local ecologist, intrigued but cautious, asked, "What will you do differently? How can we trust that your methods will not harm our ecosystem?" Vaxen stepped forward. We will utilize Xelorian technology that has been tested in various environments. Our aim is to restore balance, not disrupt. We will also include local experts in every step of the process. Elena emphasized the importance of community involvement. We want to learn from you, to incorporate your knowledge and expertise. This project is as much yours as it is ours. Slowly, the initial hesitance began to dissolve. The local community expressed interest, intrigued by the possibilities that lay ahead. As plans took shape, excitement grew. They organized workshops where locals could learn about Xelorian technology and techniques. Vaxen and Elena visited schools, speaking to children about the importance of environmental stewardship and cooperation. As the project launch day approached, anticipation filled the air. On the morning of the event, both humans and Xelorians gathered at the wetland site, the sun shining down on them, light the possibilities ahead. Vaxen stood at the forefront, alongside Elena and local leaders. Today marks a new beginning, he announced, his voice filled with conviction. Together, we will restore this land and foster a bond that transcends the stars. Cheers erupted from the crowd as they prepared to take the first steps in their collaborative efforts. They began by clearing debris and planting native vegetation, the tangible actions symbolizing their commitment to one another. Vaxen worked side by side with humans, sharing laughter and stories. Elena led a group of children, showing them how to plant saplings. This is your planet, she told them. You have the power to protect it. As the day wore on, they shared meals, exchanging cultural traditions and stories that wove them together. Vaxen marveled at the resilience of humanity, their capacity to find joy even amidst adversity. But as the project progressed, challenges began to surface. Some members of Caldwell's faction remained vocal, spreading dissent and fear. "What if this is just a front for manipulation?" one protester shouted, holding a sign that read, "No alien trust." Despite the negativity, many in the community rallied together, advocating for the partnership. They shared their experiences, highlighting the positive impact of the collaboration. Elena organized a town hall meeting to address the concerns head-on. "We're here to listen. Your fears are valid, but we must approach this with open minds." Caldwell, still wary, took the opportunity to voice his objections. "We cannot let our guard down. This project must be monitored closely." Vaxen nodded, recognizing the need for transparency. "We welcome oversight. Our actions will be open to scrutiny, and we will report on our progress together." As time went on, the coalition began to take shape. More members of the community joined, eager to learn and participate. The project became a focal point for unity, slowly changing the narrative surrounding the Xelorians. Vaxen felt a sense of hope swell within him. They were not just restoring a wetland, they were forging a connection that could transcend the stars. Yet, Caldwell's faction continued to stir dissent, spreading fear and distrust. Vaxen understood that as they worked to build trust, they must also confront those who remained resistant. Just as things began to stabilize, an unexpected challenge arose. One evening, Vaxen received an urgent message from Lyra. "Commander, we've detected unusual activity near our ship. It appears that a group is planning to sabotage the project." Vaxen's heart sank. How do they plan to do this? Lyra's face was grave. "They've been gathering supplies and equipment. They want to disrupt our efforts and send a message." Elena, overhearing the conversation, turned to Vaxen. "We must address this immediately. If they succeed, it could set back all the progress we've made." Vaxen rallied the coalition, calling for an emergency meeting. "We face opposition from those who fear what they do not understand," he began, his voice steady. "But we will not allow fear to dictate our actions. We stand united in our mission." Elena spoke passionately. "We have made incredible strides together. This project is a testament to what we can achieve as allies. We will not be deterred." The room filled with determination, and a plan began to take shape. They would increase security around the project site and engage the community, emphasizing the importance of standing together. As the project continued, the coalition organized community events, inviting local leaders and residents to participate. They hosted open forums where people could voice their concerns and learn more about the Xelorian technology being used. The night air was thick with tension as Vaxen paced the command center aboard the Xelorian ship. The glowing screens flickered with data, each moment intensifying the weight of the situation. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface, something that threatened the fragile alliance they were attempting to build. Lyra approached, her expression grave. "Commander, our scouts have reported unusual movements near the wetland site. It seems there are groups gathering, and not for a friendly purpose." Vaxen nodded, feeling a chill run down his spine. "We need to enhance security immediately. I want a full perimeter established around the project area. We can't let anyone sabotage our efforts." Elena entered the room, her brow furrowed. "I just spoke with community leaders. They're worried. They feel the pressure from Caldwell's faction and are scared that our project might not be safe." "We need to show them we are prepared," Vaxen said. "A demonstration of our commitment and strength may help ease their fears." Elena nodded, determination sparking in her eyes. "Let's hold an open event tomorrow, showcasing our progress. We can invite everyone, both supporters and skeptics." The next day dawned bright and hopeful. Vaxen and Elena rallied the coalition, setting up booths to showcase their technology and the progress made on the wetland restoration. Local artists displayed their work, and families set up picnic areas, creating an atmosphere of celebration. As the crowds began to gather, Vaxen took a moment to appreciate the scene. Children laughed and played, adults exchanged stories, and the scent of fresh food wafted through the air. This was the community they hoped to foster, a blend of humanity and Xelorian partnership. Elena stood on a makeshift stage, her voice carrying over the crowd. "Today, we celebrate what we've accomplished together. This project is not just about restoration. It's about building a future where our species can thrive side by side." Applause erupted, and for a moment, the underlying tensions seemed to fade. But Vaxen's instincts told him that danger still lurked close by. As the day continued, the atmosphere shifted when a group of protesters appeared at the edge of the event. They held banners that read, "Aliens go home," and "Protect our land." Vaxen felt a surge of anxiety. He had anticipated resistance, but this was a direct challenge to their efforts. Caldwell stood at the front of the group, his expression stern. "We cannot allow this to happen," he shouted, his voice cutting through the festivities. They're manipulating our environment and putting us all at risk. Elena stepped forward, raising her hands in an attempt to calm the crowd. Senator Caldwell, we're here to show our commitment to working together. This project benefits everyone. But Caldwell's faction was unwavering. They shouted accusations and rallied against the Xelorians, their voices creating a cacophony of fear. Vaxen exchanged a worried glance with Elena. "We need to de-escalate this situation," he said, feeling the tension in the air thicken like a storm cloud. Elena nodded, her determination unwavering. "Let's invite Caldwell to speak. If he sees the progress we've made, it may help ease the tension." Caldwell, sensing the moment, accepted the invitation. Vaxen stood alongside Elena as they faced the crowd, Caldwell's supporters seething behind him. "Let's focus on what we can achieve together," Vaxen began. "Our shared goal is to restore this wetland for the benefit of all. We invite everyone to join us in this effort." Caldwell scowled, but eventually spoke. "I will give you a chance, Xelorians, but understand this. Trust is hard-won. You must prove that your intentions are sincere." As Caldwell finished, a murmur of doubt spread through the crowd. Elena took a deep breath, sensing the fragile balance. "Trust is built through understanding," she said, her voice steady. "Let's allow the community to witness firsthand what we've accomplished." At that moment, Vaxen felt a strange vulnerability wash over him. "We are not here to take. We're here to give and share. We seek to learn from you as much as you can learn from us." The words hung in the air, and for a moment the crowd seemed to consider them. But just as hope flickered, a loud crash erupted from behind the stage, shattering the fragile peace. People turned in shock as a group of masked individuals charged toward the project area, wielding tools and equipment meant to dismantle the restoration efforts. "Stop them!" Vaxen shouted, his heart racing. Chaos erupted as the crowd surged back, a mix of fear and confusion. Vaxen rushed toward the intruders, his instincts driving him to protect the work they had begun. Elena followed closely, her voice ringing out. "We need to defend what we've built. Everyone, stay calm." Caldwell, caught off guard, struggled to maintain control over his faction. "This is not how we solve problems," he yelled, but his words were drowned out by the escalating chaos. Vaxen confronted the saboteurs, his demeanor resolute. "This ends now. We won't let you destroy what we're working to create." The masked individuals hesitated, taken aback by his unwavering stance. "You don't belong here," one shouted, swinging a wrench in frustration. "You're right. We don't belong here yet," Vaxen replied, his voice firm. "But we're committed to earning our place, to becoming allies. Destroying our work will only deepen the divide." In that moment of confrontation, he saw the flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. The tension between aggression and understanding hung in the air, creating a palpable force. Just then, Caldwell stepped forward, his voice cutting through the noise. "This is not how we create change," he directed his gaze at the intruders. "If you wish to fight, you do not do so in the name of our community." Vaxen felt a surge of hope as Caldwell took a stand against the sabotage. The masked individuals hesitated, glancing between Caldwell and Vaxen, the conflict of interest becoming clear. "Join us in dialogue instead of violence," Caldwell continued, his voice steady. "We must find a way forward without destruction." Gradually, the intruders lowered their weapons, uncertainty clouding their faces. Vaxen seized the opportunity, stepping closer. "We all want to protect our home. Let's work together to find solutions, not destroy what we've begun." Elena added, "Our efforts are meant to heal, not harm. We want to learn from your experiences, to build a future where we all thrive." A heavy silence fell over the crowd, the moment stretching into what felt like eternity. Finally, one of the masked individuals stepped forward, pulling down their mask. "We just want to ensure our voices are heard." "Then let's hear them," Vaxen replied, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Let's have an open dialogue about our concerns. Together, we can find common ground." Slowly, the group of saboteurs began to lower their tools. Caldwell nodded, his expression softening. We need to show that we can work together, even in disagreement. Vaxen sensed the shift in the crowd's energy. This is a chance for all of us to unite for a common cause. Let's not waste it. As the chaos subsided, Vaxen could feel the tide turning. The tension still lingered, but a foundation for dialogue had been laid. In the days that followed, the coalition met to discuss the events of the sabotage and how to move forward. The atmosphere was charged with emotion, but a sense of unity began to take shape. Caldwell attended the meeting, and Vaxen appreciated his willingness to engage. We need to address the fears that led to that confrontation, Caldwell said. What can we do to ensure that everyone feels included in this process? Elena suggested, let's hold regular community forums. We can invite local leaders, Xelorians, and anyone who has concerns. This is about creating a space where everyone feels they have a voice. Vaxen nodded in agreement. We must establish transparency in all our actions. The more people see our commitment, the more trust we can build. The coalition began to host weekly forums, where members of both communities could share their perspectives. As time went on, the conversations became richer and more nuanced. The project became a symbol of hope, demonstrating that unity was possible even in the face of fear. Caldwell, once a fierce opponent, found himself engaging in discussions about potential collaborative projects. Perhaps we can work together on educational programs for our youth, he suggested one evening. Teaching them about both our cultures could bridge the gap. That's a wonderful idea, Elena replied, enthusiasm lighting up her face. We can develop workshops that celebrate both Xelorian and human traditions. As weeks turned into months, the wetland restoration project flourished. The efforts not only revitalized the land, but also transformed the community. As the weeks unfolded, the atmosphere around the wetland project shifted from suspicion to collaboration. The vibrant greenery sprouted where once there was only muck and decay, a physical representation of the growing bond between the Xelorians and humans. Vaxen stood with Elena on a small rise overlooking the wetlands, watching the diverse group of volunteers planting native species children and adults alike, laughter mingling with the calls of birds returning to the area. It was a sight that filled him with hope. This is what we envisioned, Elena said, her eyes sparkling with joy. Look at how far we've come. Vaxen smiled, feeling a surge of pride. Every sapling planted is a step towards understanding, but we must remain vigilant. The scars of distrust still linger beneath the surface. As the community prepared for the next forum, Elena and Vaxen gathered their thoughts. They aimed to address any remaining concerns, ensuring that the progress made was not only recognized but built upon. We need to discuss the impact of our project on local wildlife, Vaxen suggested. Many may still worry about how our technology interacts with their ecosystem. Agreed, Elena replied, flipping through her notes. We can invite environmental scientists to speak and answer questions. It will help demonstrate our transparency. On the day of the forum, the community center buzzed with energy. Residents from all walks of life gathered, eager to participate in the ongoing dialogue. As Vaxen and Elena prepared to address the crowd, Caldwell entered, his expression serious. Can we talk before we start? He asked, pulling Vaxen aside. Of course, Senator, Vaxen replied, sensing the urgency in Caldwell's voice. I've received reports that the protest group is gaining traction again, Caldwell said, lowering his voice. They're spreading misinformation about our project, claiming it's harming the local wildlife. Vaxen felt a knot tighten in his stomach. We can't allow fear to take hold again. We must counter those claims with facts and show our commitment to conservation. Caldwell nodded. We need to be united in this. If we can present a united front, it will lend more credibility to our efforts. As the forum commenced, Elena welcomed the audience, her voice echoing in the packed room. Thank you all for coming. Today, we will discuss the ongoing restoration efforts and the ways in which we can continue to work together. Vaxen stepped forward, feeling the weight of the community's gaze. We are not here simply to restore the wetland. We are here to build a relationship founded on trust and shared responsibility. To that end, we have invited experts who can address the ecological impacts of our project. A local ecologist stood up, ready to present. Our studies show that the restoration efforts have positively impacted local wildlife, providing habitats for numerous species that had been driven away. It is crucial that we work together to ensure the health of our ecosystem. As the presentation continued, residents raised their hands, eager to engage. One concerned citizen spoke up. But how can we be sure the Xelorians' technology won't harm our wildlife in the long run? Vaxen felt a surge of urgency. We are committed to transparency. All our technology has undergone rigorous testing, and we will share the data with you. Our aim is to enhance, not disrupt our environment. Another voice chimed in. What happens if there's an unforeseen consequence? Will we be left to deal with the fallout? We understand the risks, Caldwell interjected, his voice firm. But we're committed to monitoring the ecosystem closely. If any issues arise, we will address them collaboratively. The discussions continued, and as Vaxen and Elena provided clarity, the atmosphere began to shift again. The questions were challenging, but the willingness to engage demonstrated a growing trust. After the forum concluded, Vaxen found Caldwell. Thank you for stepping in. Your presence made a difference. I realize now that we're in this together, Caldwell admitted. If we want this to work, we need to show that we can trust each other. I'll do my part to help bridge the gap. The two men shook hands, a silent agreement forming between them, a commitment to a shared vision. As the weeks progressed, the partnership blossomed further. Vaxen and Elena worked on organizing educational programs that celebrated both cultures, highlighting the strengths of each community. One afternoon, as they prepared for a joint festival, Vaxen caught sight of a group of children, painting a mural that depicted a vibrant future, a world where Xelorians and humans lived in harmony. This is beautiful, Vaxen remarked, watching them paint. It captures the spirit of our alliance. Elena smiled. Art has a way of expressing what words sometimes can't. This mural will serve as a reminder of what we're building together. The day of the festival arrived, and the air buzzed with excitement. Stalls lined the pathway, showcasing Xelorian crafts alongside human traditions. Music filled the air as performers took to the stage, sharing songs and dances from both cultures. Vaxen observed the mingling of people, feeling a warmth spread through him. The barriers that once separated them seemed to dissolve amidst laughter and shared stories. As the sun set, the festival reached its peak. Caldwell took the stage alongside Vaxen and Elena. Tonight, we celebrate not just our achievements, but our commitment to a future where we stand together, Caldwell declared, his voice resonating with sincerity. Vaxen took a moment to address the crowd. This partnership is a testament to our resilience. Together, we can face any challenge and create a better world. However, beneath the festive surface, a shadow loomed. As the night wore on, Vaxen noticed a small group lingering at the edge of the festival, their expressions grim. They were the same individuals who had protested earlier, watching with suspicion. "What do you think they want?" Elena asked, concern flickering in her eyes. "I'm not sure," Vaxen replied. "But we need to be prepared for any backlash. Not everyone will be swayed by our efforts." As the festivities continued, Vaxen made a mental note to engage with them. It was essential to confront any lingering fears before they could escalate. Later that evening, as the crowd began to disperse, Vaxen approached the group of dissenters. "I see you've been observing," he said, trying to keep his tone neutral. One of the men stepped forward, his voice laced with frustration. "You think this is all just a game? Our community's safety is at stake." Vaxen took a deep breath, recognizing the intensity of their emotions. "I understand your concerns. It's not just a game to us either. We're invested in this partnership, and we want to ensure everyone's voice is heard." Words don't mean much when you're dealing with an alien species, another shouted. What guarantees do we have that you won't harm our land? Vaxen looked around at the faces of the dissenters, seeing the fear etched into their expressions. I can't offer you guarantees, but I can promise that we will continue to communicate openly. We want to work together to find solutions that honor both our worlds. Elena stepped forward, her presence calming. Let's set up a dedicated forum for your concerns. We want to hear what you have to say and address your fears directly. The group exchanged uncertain glances. And if we're still not satisfied, one asked. Then we keep talking, Vaxen replied firmly. Our partnership is built on dialogue. If we don't address concerns as they arise, we risk falling back into distrust. Slowly, the tension began to ease, and one of the dissenters spoke up. Maybe we can give you a chance, but we're watching. Vaxen nodded. That's fair. We want to earn your trust, not demand it. Let's keep this dialogue going. As the night closed in, Vaxen felt a sense of cautious optimism. The festival had been a success, but the work was far from over. Trust would need to be nurtured continuously. In the following weeks, Vaxen and Elena established a new initiative focused on community engagement. They invited dissenters and supporters alike to participate in workshops, fostering discussions around sustainability and shared stewardship of the environment. Elena organized a series of panels featuring both human and Xelorian experts, encouraging open dialogue about their methods and technologies. We can bridge this divide by sharing knowledge, she said during a planning meeting. Let's highlight the ways in which our efforts complement each other. Vaxen agreed. Education is key. The more people know, the less fear they'll have about the unknown. As the initiative gained traction, the atmosphere in the community began to shift even further. More residents started attending the workshops, their curiosity piqued by the collaborative efforts. One afternoon, as they wrapped up a panel discussion, Vaxen overheard two young adults discussing their ideas for further projects. We could create a community garden that incorporates both Xelorian and human plants, one suggested. That's a brilliant idea, the other replied, enthusiasm lighting their face. It could. The idea of a community garden blossomed quickly in the wake of the recent workshops. Vaxen, Elena, and Caldwell gathered with a diverse group of residents in the open field where the garden was to be established. The air buzzed with excitement and the promise of collaboration. Vaxen stood at the center of the group, feeling a wave of optimism. This garden will be a living testament to our partnership. It will represent not just the blending of our cultures, but also the harmony we can achieve when we work together. Elena gestured to the area. We'll designate sections for both native human plants and Xelorian flora, showcasing the beauty of our shared environment. This is more than just a garden, it's a space for education, conversation, and connection. Caldwell, holding a shovel, added, let's ensure that everyone, regardless of their background, feels ownership over this project. It should reflect our collective identity. As the first shovels hit the soil, laughter filled the air. Children raced to choose their planting spots, while adults discussed which plants would thrive together. Vaxen watched as people mingled, forging bonds that had once seemed impossible. One of the dissenters from earlier, a young woman named Mira, approached him. I want to help with the Xelorian plants. I'm curious about how they grow. Absolutely, Vaxen replied, grateful for her willingness to engage. Each Xelorian plant has unique properties that can benefit our environment. Let me show you how to cultivate them. Together, they selected a patch for the Xelorian species, discussing their needs and the symbiotic relationships they could form with native plants. As they worked side by side, Vaxen felt the barriers between them dissolving further. Over the next few weeks, the garden took shape. Volunteers gathered regularly, sharing knowledge, laughter, and stories. Vaxen found himself particularly drawn to Mira's enthusiasm. She had a keen eye for detail and a genuine passion for the environment. One afternoon, as they planted saplings, Mira shared her thoughts. I've always felt disconnected from the land. It was only after the protests that I started to pay attention. I didn't want to see our community change, but now I see that change can be good." "That's a valuable realization," Vaxen said, appreciating her honesty. "Every culture experiences change. It's how we adapt that matters." As the weeks turned into months, the garden flourished alongside the growing sense of community. Families visited, children played, and residents shared knowledge and resources. The garden became a focal point, symbolizing unity and collaboration. Elena organized community potlucks, where people brought dishes made from the garden's bounty. The aroma of freshly cooked meals mingled with the scent of blooming flowers, creating a warm, inviting atmosphere. During one of these gatherings, Caldwell addressed the crowd. "This garden is not just about food, it's about fostering relationships. It's a place where we can all come together, share our stories, and learn from one another." However, just as the community began to settle into a routine of collaboration, word arrived that the Council of Elders from the Xelorian home planet was planning a visit. Vaxen felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "What will they think of our efforts?" he wondered aloud to Elena. "They'll likely be impressed," Elena replied. "But we must be prepared to showcase the progress we've made. This garden is a key element. It represents what we can accomplish together." Vaxen agreed. They began organizing an event to welcome the council, planning to highlight the garden and the partnerships formed through it. The day of the council's arrival dawned bright and clear. Vaxen, Elena, and Caldwell waited anxiously at the entrance of the garden, surrounded by eager community members. As the hovercraft landed, a hush fell over the crowd. The elders stepped out, their dignified presence commanding respect. Vaxen felt a wave of pride as he introduced them to the gathered residents. "Welcome, esteemed elders. Today, we celebrate the unity between our peoples." Elder Thalen, the leader of the council, nodded appreciatively. "We have heard much about your endeavors. We are eager to witness the fruits of your labor." As the tour commenced, Vaxen guided the council through the garden, showcasing the diverse plant life. Community members stepped forward to explain their contributions, sharing stories of collaboration and learning. "This section features native human plants," Elena explained. "While this area highlights Xelorian species, we've learned how they can coexist and even enhance each other's growth." Elder Thalen examined a Xelorian flower, its iridescent petals shimmering in the sunlight. "It is remarkable to see how you have integrated these species. This is a true testament to the potential of your partnership." As the group continued through the garden, Vaxen felt a sense of validation wash over him. They had transformed the initial distrust into something beautiful and productive. After the tour, they gathered in a shaded area for a discussion. The council members listened attentively as Vaxen and Elena recounted the challenges they had faced and the progress made. Elder Thalen spoke, his voice resonating with wisdom. "We have witnessed your resilience and commitment to unity. It is clear that your partnership has strengthened both your communities." Caldwell interjected, "But there are still challenges ahead. We must continue to engage in dialogue and address any concerns that arise." Elder Thalen nodded thoughtfully. "Indeed, communication is key. We must ensure that both our cultures are respected and valued in this partnership." Just as the conversation began to flow, a commotion erupted at the edge of the garden. Vaxen turned to see a group of protesters led by the same individuals who had expressed dissent in the past storming toward them. "What are they doing here?" Elena gasped, her expression alarmed. The protesters shouted accusations, claiming that the garden was a guise for Xelorian exploitation. "You're ruining our land. This is not a partnership, it's an invasion," one of them yelled. Vaxen stepped forward, heart pounding. "This garden is a symbol of our unity. We've worked hard to create a space where both our cultures can thrive." Caldwell raised his voice, trying to regain control. "This is not the way to address your concerns. We're here to find solutions together." Elder Thalen stepped forward, attempting to speak with authority. "We must listen to all voices, but violence and disruption are not the answer." The protesters, however, were undeterred. "You're just trying to placate us. We won't be fooled by these empty gestures," one woman shouted, her face flushed with anger. Vaxen felt the tension in the air, a chasm opening between the two groups. "We can talk about our differences. Let's find a way to engage in constructive dialogue instead of resorting to hostility." With the crowd's attention divided, Vaxen realized they needed to take action. "Let's hold a community forum right here, right now. We'll create a space for open discussion where everyone can voice their concerns." Elena nodded, sensing the urgency. "We need to facilitate this dialogue before tensions escalate further." Caldwell addressed the protesters directly. "If you truly want to be heard, join us in this discussion. We're willing to listen." After a moment of hesitation, the protesters stepped forward, their expressions wary but curious. As the makeshift forum began, Vaxen stood at the center, his heart racing. "Thank you for being willing to engage with us. This garden was meant to symbolize unity, and we want to ensure that everyone feels included in this vision." One of the protest leaders, a man named Rylan, spoke up. "You say that, but how can we trust you? We see you planting your flags in our land, and it feels like an invasion." Vaxen took a deep breath, grounding himself. "I understand your fears. Trust is not easily earned, especially after past conflicts. We are committed to transparency and to addressing your concerns head-on." Rylan continued, "What if your technology harms our ecosystems? We've seen changes already that worry us." "We're monitoring the impact closely," Elena replied, her tone earnest. "We're here to work alongside you, not to impose our will. Let's look at the data together and find solutions that benefit everyone." As the discussion progressed, more voices emerged from both sides. Some residents expressed their concerns, while others shared their positive experiences in the garden. Slowly, a sense of understanding began to take shape. Vaxen encouraged everyone to speak freely, creating a space where fears could be addressed and solutions explored. "Perhaps we can set up a committee that includes members from both communities," Caldwell suggested. "This way, we can keep the lines of communication open and address any issues as they arise." Rylan nodded thoughtfully. "That could work, but we need to ensure that our voices are genuinely represented. We won't accept empty promises." By the end of the forum, while not all tensions had been resolved, a fragile sense of collaboration emerged. Vaxen felt a renewed. In the weeks following the community forum, a sense of cautious optimism permeated the atmosphere. Vaxen, Elena, and Caldwell worked tirelessly to form the new committee that would facilitate ongoing dialogue between the residents and the Xelorian representatives. The initial discussions proved challenging, but a shared commitment to transparency began to emerge. Mira, the young woman who had initially expressed skepticism, volunteered to be part of the committee. "I want to help bridge the gap between our communities," she said, her eyes reflecting determination. "We need to ensure that our voices are heard." Vaxen was heartened by her enthusiasm. "Your perspective is invaluable. We need someone who understands both sides of this partnership." The committee held its first meeting in the community center, where chairs were arranged in a circle to foster an inclusive environment. As members filed in, Vaxen took a moment to absorb the diverse group: longtime residents, recent arrivals, and a mix of Xelorians and humans, each with unique perspectives. Elena opened the meeting. "Thank you all for coming. Our goal today is to establish some ground rules for how we will communicate and collaborate moving forward." Mira spoke up. "I think it's important that we create an atmosphere of respect. Everyone should feel safe to express their concerns without fear of backlash." Caldwell nodded in agreement. "We're here to listen. Let's ensure that everyone has the opportunity to speak, and that we actively listen to one another." As the discussion progressed, they agreed on several key principles: respect, transparency, accountability, and open-mindedness. These guidelines would serve as the foundation for their collaboration. With the ground rules in place, the committee brainstormed its first initiative: a series of community workshops focused on environmental stewardship and sustainable practices. Vaxen suggested inviting both human and Xelorian experts to share their knowledge. What if we create hands-on workshops where participants can learn about both our techniques? Mira proposed. We could plant new species together and learn from each other's methods. Elena's face lit up. That's a fantastic idea. It would emphasize the collaborative spirit we're aiming for. The committee quickly began organizing the workshops, and excitement rippled through the community. Flyers were posted around town, and word spread about the upcoming events. As the day of the first workshop approached, Vaxen felt a mix of anticipation and nerves. Would residents show up? Would they embrace the opportunity to learn from one another? On the day of the workshop, he arrived early to set up the outdoor space. Elena and Mira joined him, arranging tables and preparing materials. Soon, community members began to trickle in, their curiosity piqued. "Welcome, everyone," Elena greeted the attendees, her voice warm and inviting. "Today, we'll be learning about sustainable gardening practices from both human and Xelorian perspectives." Vaxen stepped forward, feeling the weight of expectation. "We've come a long way together, and today is another step in our journey. Let's embrace this opportunity to grow not just plants, but relationships." The workshops unfolded beautifully, with participants rotating through stations where they learned various gardening techniques. Vaxen demonstrated Xelorian planting methods, emphasizing the importance of biodiversity. As residents engaged with the material, Vaxen noticed a shift in attitudes. Skepticism gave way to curiosity, and laughter echoed across the garden as they worked side by side. Mira facilitated a station on companion planting, explaining how certain plants could benefit one another. "It's like building a community," she said, drawing parallels between plants and people. "When we support one another, we all thrive." As the sun set on the first workshop, Vaxen felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The garden had transformed into a vibrant hub of collaboration and learning. Community members lingered, sharing their experiences and forging connections. During the wrap-up, Elena encouraged feedback. "What did everyone think? How can we improve our next workshop?" One attendee, an older man named Harold, raised his hand. "I think we need more of these. I've learned so much, and it's great to see us working together." Mira added, "It would also be beneficial to have more Xelorian experts involved. Their knowledge is invaluable." Vaxen nodded, grateful for the constructive input. "We'll make that happen. This is just the beginning." As momentum grew, news of the workshops reached the Xelorian Council. Elder Thalen decided to visit and witness the progress firsthand. The anticipation was palpable as the community prepared for his arrival. Vaxen and Elena organized a special workshop to showcase the community's achievements. They hoped the elders' presence would further solidify the partnership. On the day of the visit, the garden buzzed with energy. Residents set up displays showcasing their learning, and a palpable sense of pride filled the air. When Elder Thalen arrived, he was greeted with warmth and enthusiasm. "Welcome, Elder Thalen," Elena exclaimed. "We're excited to show you what we've accomplished together." As they toured the garden, Vaxen highlighted the various workshops and the knowledge shared. "This garden has become a place of learning and collaboration. It represents our commitment to a shared future." Elder Thalen observed the interactions among community members, his expression contemplative. "It is heartening to see such unity in action. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed back home." Vaxen felt a swell of pride. "We're working hard to ensure that both cultures are respected and valued in this partnership. This garden symbolizes what we can achieve together." Despite the positive atmosphere, challenges still loomed. As the weeks passed, whispers of discontent surfaced among some residents who felt that their concerns were being overshadowed by the enthusiasm of the workshops. One evening, during a committee meeting, Rylan expressed his frustration. "I appreciate the workshops, but we can't ignore the underlying issues. Many of us still feel uncertain about the long-term impact of the Xelorian presence here." Caldwell sighed, rubbing his temples. I understand, but we're trying to build trust. We can't force people to see the benefits overnight. Mira leaned in. Perhaps we need to create a space for those concerns to be voiced more directly. We can still hold workshops, but we also need to address the fears head-on. In response to the growing concerns, the committee decided to host a dedicated forum to discuss the lingering fears and uncertainties. They aimed to create a safe space for community members to express their feelings openly. On the night of the forum, Vaxen prepared himself for a challenging conversation. The community center filled with residents, some hopeful, others apprehensive. Elena opened the floor, inviting participants to share their thoughts. This is an opportunity for us to address any concerns. We want to hear your voices. Ryland spoke up first, his tone earnest. We appreciate the workshops, but many of us worry that we're losing our identity in this partnership. We don't want to be overshadowed. Another resident chimed in. And what about our land? How can we be sure it won't be harmed by the Xelorian technology? Vaxen took a deep breath, recognizing the weight of their fears. Your concerns are valid. It's crucial that we continue to discuss these issues openly. We are committed to working alongside you to find solutions. Caldwell added, we need to prioritize transparency. If there are specific data or reports you'd like to see regarding the environmental impact of our work, we can make that available. Mira suggested, what if we establish regular check-ins where residents can voice their concerns and receive updates on the project's progress? That way, we can ensure that no one feels left out. The room buzzed with nods of agreement. Vaxen felt encouraged by the constructive direction the conversation was taking. That's an excellent idea, Mira. Let's commit to regular check-ins as part of our ongoing dialogue. As the weeks turned into months, the garden continued to thrive, becoming a vibrant representation of the partnership between the Xelorians and the residents. The workshops drew larger crowds, and the sense of community grew stronger. Vaxen often found himself reflecting on the transformation they had undergone. What had started as a fragile alliance had blossomed into a thriving partnership. During one workshop, as Vaxen demonstrated a new Xelorian planting technique, he glanced at Mira, who was leading a group of children and creating their own garden plots. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and he felt a swell of gratitude for the connections they had forged. One day, as Vaxen was cleaning up after a workshop, he received a message from Elder Thalen. The elder wanted to meet privately to discuss the next steps for the partnership. Curiosity piqued, Vaxen agreed to the meeting. When the day arrived, he found Elder Thalen waiting in a serene part of the garden, the sound of birds providing a peaceful backdrop. Thank you for meeting with me, Vaxen, Elder Thalen said, his tone serious but warm. I have been reflecting on the progress you and your community have made. It has been a journey, Elder, Vaxen replied, but we still have much work to do. Elder Thalen continued. Elder Thalen looked at Vaxen with an intensity that signaled the importance of the moment. Your community's efforts have not only impressed me, they have also inspired a vision for further collaboration between our peoples. I propose we explore the potential for a formal alliance. Vaxen's heart raced at the thought. A formal alliance? What would that entail? It would mean establishing a framework for our cooperation, shared resources, joint projects, and mutual support in addressing environmental and cultural concerns. Together, we could create programs that benefit both communities. Vaxen considered the implications. That sounds promising, but it's essential we ensure both communities feel equally represented in this partnership. Elder Thalen nodded. Absolutely. The voices of both humans and Xelorians must guide this alliance. We cannot proceed without mutual trust and understanding. Eager to discuss this new proposal, Vaxen organized a community meeting. He felt a blend of excitement and apprehension as he prepared to present the elder's idea to the residents. The community center buzzed with chatter as people filed in. Vaxen stood before them, his heart pounding. Thank you all for coming. I have an important update regarding our partnership with the Xelorian community. As he explained Elder Thalan's vision for a formal alliance, he noticed a mixture of intrigue and skepticism in the crowd. This alliance could allow us to tackle shared challenges and improve our lives, but I want to hear your thoughts. Rylan, still skeptical from earlier discussions, raised his hand. What guarantees do we have that this alliance won't compromise our values or land? We've seen so many changes already. Vaxen took a deep breath, prepared for this question. Your concerns are valid. We've faced challenges, but this alliance is an opportunity to put safeguards in place. We can work together to define what that means for both communities. Elena added, we need to establish clear guidelines that protect our cultural identities and our land. If we approach this alliance thoughtfully, we can ensure that everyone benefits. As the meeting progressed, residents voiced both concerns and support. Some were excited about the prospects of shared resources, while others worried about potential exploitation. Mira spoke passionately. If we can develop a framework that respects our heritage and addresses our concerns, this could be a powerful step forward. But we must hold ourselves accountable. The discussions continued late into the evening. With a clear consensus emerging, they needed to move forward, but they would do so cautiously. Vaxen promised to take their feedback to Elder Thalan, emphasizing the importance of creating a framework that reflected their shared values. The following week, Vaxen met with Elder Thalan again, this time with a feedback from the community. We are eager to explore this alliance, he began, but we need to address some concerns from our residents about representation and safeguarding our values. Elder Thalan listened intently. I appreciate your transparency, Vaxen. Let's co-create a framework that addresses these issues. It's vital that both sides feel they have equal stakes in this alliance. Vaxen felt a sense of relief wash over him. We can establish a council composed of members from both communities to oversee the alliance and ensure that decisions reflect our shared values. Over the next few weeks, Vaxen, Elena, and Elder Thalan worked closely to develop the framework for the alliance. They held meetings, inviting input from community members on both sides, and addressing concerns as they arose. The proposed alliance included several key components. A council representing both communities would oversee initiatives, ensuring equal representation. Opportunities for members of both communities to learn from each other's traditions, fostering understanding and respect. Collaborative projects focused on sustainability, addressing shared ecological concerns. Ongoing dialogues to keep both communities informed and engaged. As they crafted the framework, Vaxen felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was not just about creating a partnership, it was about healing past wounds and building a future together. Once the framework was finalized, they scheduled a large gathering to announce the alliance to the community. Vaxen stood at the front of the garden, flanked by Elder Thalan and Elena. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as residents filled the space. Thank you all for being here, Vaxen began, his voice steady. Today, we embark on a new chapter, a formal alliance between our communities. This is a testament to our commitment to collaboration, understanding, and mutual respect. Elder Thalan stepped forward, his demeanor dignified. We stand together not just as neighbors, but as partners in a shared future. This alliance represents our dedication to working collaboratively to address the challenges we face. As they unveiled the framework, the crowd erupted in applause. Vaxen felt a surge of hope as people embraced the idea, eager to learn more about what the alliance would mean for their daily lives. After the formal announcement, the gathering transitioned into a celebration. Residents set up food stalls featuring dishes from both cultures, and laughter filled the air as children played in the garden. Mira approached Vaxen, her face lit with enthusiasm. I think this could really change things for the better. We're building something meaningful here. Vaxen smiled, grateful for her support. It's a team effort. Each of us has a role to play in making this alliance a success. With the alliance officially announced, the council members began discussing their first joint initiative, They decided to focus on environmental stewardship, a topic that resonated deeply with both communities. During a planning session, Elena proposed an ambitious project, a series of cleanup drives along the river that bordered their territories. This river is vital to our ecosystem, and it needs our attention. We can combine our efforts to restore its health. Rylan, now more open to collaboration, added, "We can also include educational components workshops on pollution prevention and sustainable practices." Vaxen nodded, encouraged by the enthusiasm in the room. "Let's set a date for our first cleanup drive and promote it throughout both communities." As the day of the cleanup approached, Vaxen and the council worked tirelessly to engage the community. Flyers were distributed, social media campaigns launched, and word of mouth spread excitement about the event. On the day of the cleanup, the sun shone brightly, casting a golden hue over the gathering. Vaxen looked out at the crowd, a mixture of Xelorians and humans, all united in a common goal. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice resonating with passion. "Today, we come together not just to clean this river, but to reaffirm our commitment to our shared home and each other." As volunteers dispersed along the riverbank, Vaxen found himself working alongside Rylan. They chatted as they picked up litter, forming a bond forged through shared effort. "It feels good to do something tangible together," Rylan said, his tone reflecting newfound camaraderie. Vaxen nodded. "It's amazing what we can achieve when we collaborate. This is just the beginning." As the day progressed, laughter and chatter filled the air. Children splashed in the water, while adults engaged in discussions about sustainability and their hopes for the future. By the end of the day, the river sparkled, a visible testament to their collective efforts. As volunteers gathered for a debrief, Vaxen felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. Elena stepped forward, addressing the group. "Today's success is a reflection of what we can achieve together. Let's continue this momentum and tackle more initiatives in the future." The crowd erupted in applause, the atmosphere electric with enthusiasm. Vaxen couldn't help but smile at the progress they had made together. Later that evening, as Vaxen walked through the garden, he took a moment to reflect on the journey they had undertaken. It felt like a lifetime ago that the communities had been at odds, distrust brewing beneath the surface. Now they stood united, working side by side toward a common goal. The alliance was more than a formal agreement. It was a commitment to understanding, respect, and collaboration. As he strolled, he spotted Mira tending to her garden plot. She looked up and smiled, her face glowing with satisfaction. "I think we're really making a difference, Vaxen. It feels good to see everyone working together." "It does," he agreed, feeling a warmth in his chest. "This is just the beginning. We have so much more to accomplish." Despite the progress, Vaxen knew that challenges still lay ahead. The alliance was fragile, and there were factions within both communities that remained skeptical. He sensed that maintaining unity would require constant effort and vigilance. During the next council meeting, Caldwell voiced his concerns. "We need to be proactive in addressing any dissent that may arise. We can't let past grievances resurface to undermine our progress." Elder Thalen nodded, his expression serious. "We must remain vigilant and transparent. Open communication will be key to maintaining trust between our communities." Mira suggested, "We could organize regular community forums where residents can express their concerns and suggestions. This would help us address issues before they." As the alliance between the Xelorians and the human residents began to solidify, Vaxen sensed an undercurrent of tension brewing just beneath the surface. Although many embraced the partnership, there were still pockets of resistance, fueled by fear and misunderstanding. It became clear to him that maintaining harmony required vigilance and proactive engagement. The day after the successful river cleanup, Vaxen was reviewing feedback from participants when he received an unexpected message from Elder Thalen. The elder requested an urgent meeting. The tone of the message sent a ripple of unease through him. When they met, Thalen's expression was grave. "Vaxen, we have encountered a troubling development. Some members of the Xelorian Council are concerned about our alliance's impact on Xelorian traditions. They believe we are compromising too much in our interactions with humans. Vaxen felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Are they considering pulling out of the alliance? It is possible if we cannot demonstrate a commitment to our cultural values, Thalen replied. We must reassure them that our collaboration will enrich both our communities without undermining our identities. After the meeting, Vaxen returned to the community center, where a council meeting was already in session. He took a seat beside Elena, who noticed his troubled expression. "What's wrong?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. Vaxen shared the news about the dissent among the Xelorian Council. If we can't find a way to address their concerns, the alliance could unravel before it even truly begins. Elena's brow furrowed as she processed this information. We need to find a way to engage with both sides. Maybe we can organize a cultural exchange event that highlights the strengths of both our traditions. Rylan, who had become increasingly involved, chimed in. That's a solid idea. If we can demonstrate how our communities can coexist while honoring our identities, it might quell some of the dissent. Vaxen nodded, grateful for their proactive spirit. Let's plan this event carefully. We need to ensure that both communities feel respected and valued. Over the next few weeks, the council worked tirelessly to plan the cultural exchange event. They decided to hold it in the garden, transforming the space into a vibrant celebration of both cultures. Elena took charge of organizing food stalls featuring traditional dishes from both communities. Vaxen reached out to Xelorian artists and performers, inviting them to showcase their crafts and performances. They also planned discussions highlighting the ecological wisdom embedded in both cultures. As the date approached, excitement grew among residents. Flyers circulated throughout the town, drawing interest and anticipation. Vaxen felt a mix of hope and anxiety. This event could either bridge gaps or deepen divides. On the day of the cultural exchange, the garden buzzed with energy. Colorful banners adorned the trees, and the aroma of food wafted through the air. Families arrived, mingling with one another, their curiosity palpable. Vaxen welcomed Elder Thalen as he arrived, feeling a rush of gratitude for his presence. Thank you for joining us today, Elder. Your support means a lot. Thalen nodded, surveying the bustling scene. This is a promising start. I hope it fosters understanding. As the event commenced, Vaxen took to the stage, addressing the crowd. Welcome, everyone. Today, we celebrate the beauty of our cultures and the strength of our alliance. Let's embrace our differences and learn from one another. Throughout the day, residents engaged in various activities. The children crafted colorful decorations, blending Xelorian and human styles, while adults participated in discussions about environmental stewardship. Performances showcased traditional music, dance, and storytelling from both communities. Vaxen was particularly struck by a performance from a Xelorian storyteller who captivated the audience with tales of their rich history and connection to the land. As the storyteller wove narratives about resilience and harmony with nature, Vaxen noticed how engaged the human attendees were, their faces lit with interest. During a break, Rylan approached Vaxen, a thoughtful expression on his face. I never realized how similar our stories are. It's all about our relationship with the earth and each other. Vaxen smiled, encouraged by the insight. Exactly. Our cultures may differ, but our values often align. That's something we need to emphasize. As the afternoon wore on, however, Vaxen sensed an undercurrent of tension. A group of Xelorian skeptics lingered at the edge of the festivities, whispering among themselves. Vaxen recognized them as members who had voiced concerns about the alliance. Feeling the weight of the moment, he approached the group, hoping to ease their apprehensions. Good afternoon. I'm glad you could join us today. How are you finding the event? One of the skeptics, a tall Xelorian named Kale, crossed his arms defensively. It's a distraction. These festivities don't address the real issues we face. Are we simply going to gloss over our traditions for the sake of cooperation? Vaxen took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. I understand your concerns. This event is intended to celebrate both our cultures and find common ground. Our alliance does not mean abandoning our identities. Kale's expression softened slightly, but the skepticism remained. What assurances do we have that our traditions won't be diluted in this partnership? Vaxen gestured toward the performances happening nearby. Today is just a starting point. We can create a framework that emphasizes mutual respect and understanding. We want to learn from each other, not erase who we are. As the event continued, Vaxen invited Kale and his companions to participate in discussions. He emphasized that their voices were crucial in shaping the alliance's direction. Slowly, he began to see a shift in their demeanor, their guarded expressions softening. Later, during a panel discussion on environmental stewardship, Ryland shared insights about the human community's sustainable practices. He drew parallels to Xelorian methods, highlighting how both cultures valued the Earth. Together, Ryland said, we can create a more sustainable future. We need each other's knowledge to address the challenges we face. Kale leaned in, nodding slightly. You speak of balance, and that is what we need. Balance between our traditions and the changes that come with this alliance. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the garden, Vaxen felt a sense of hope growing. The day had brought about unexpected conversations and connections, and it was clear that the cultural exchange was fostering understanding. After the event concluded, Vaxen gathered with a council to debrief. Today was a step in the right direction, he said, looking around at the faces of his fellow council members. We saw how powerful our stories can be when shared. Elena chimed in. I think we need to build on this momentum. Let's continue to organize events that focus on both cultures and address the concerns that were raised. Elder Fallon agreed, his expression more relaxed than when they first arrived. We must remain vigilant in ensuring that our traditions are honored as we navigate this partnership. In the following weeks, the council met regularly to plan future initiatives. They decided to establish a series of monthly gatherings, each focused on a different theme, allowing for ongoing dialogue and collaboration. Vaxen felt a renewed sense of purpose. The alliance was still fragile, but it was taking root, and with careful nurturing, it could grow strong. As the council discussed potential themes for upcoming events, he felt increasingly hopeful about the future. One evening, while working on outreach materials, Vaxen received a message from Kale. The tone was surprisingly positive, inviting him to meet for a conversation about how they could further engage the skeptical members of their community. When Vaxen arrived at the designated meeting spot, he found Kale waiting, a thoughtful expression on his face. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Vaxen. I've been thinking about our conversation at the cultural exchange. Of course, Vaxen replied, curious about what was on Kale's mind. I believe that if we can create spaces for open dialogue among skeptics, we might bridge some of the gaps in understanding. I'd like to help facilitate those discussions. Vaxen felt a surge of gratitude. That's a fantastic idea, Kale. Your involvement would lend credibility to these discussions, showing that we're serious about addressing concerns. Kale nodded, his expression more open. I want our culture to thrive in this alliance. If we can work together, I think we can find a way to make this partnership meaningful for everyone. Over the next few weeks, Vaxen and Kale collaborated on planning a series of roundtable discussions aimed at addressing the concerns of skeptics. They invited community members from both sides to participate, emphasizing that this was a safe space for open dialogue. On the night of the first roundtable, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Vaxen stood at the front of the community center, ready to welcome participants. Thank you all for coming tonight, he began. We're here to discuss our partnership, to address concerns, and to find common ground. This is a space for open dialogue, and I encourage everyone to share their thoughts. As the discussions unfolded, As the roundtable discussions unfolded, Vaxen felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Participants filled the room, the energy palpable. Kale sat beside him, ready to guide the conversation. "Let's begin by sharing our hopes for this alliance," Vaxen suggested, looking around at the gathered community members. "What do we want to achieve together?" A human woman named Lyra spoke up first. "I hope we can build lasting friendships and learn from one another's experiences. I want our children to grow up knowing both cultures." A Xelorian elder, Neri, added, "Our history is rich, and we should honor that while also finding ways to adapt and grow. I worry that change will erase who we are." Vaxen nodded, taking note of the concerns expressed. "That's an important point, Neri. We must ensure that our traditions remain intact while we learn to coexist." As the conversation continued, some participants voiced skepticism. A human named Jerk leaned forward, frowning. "But how do we know that our values won't be overshadowed by the Xelorian culture? We've always been wary of losing our identity." Kale responded, his tone measured. "I understand your concerns, Jerk. It's crucial that we establish clear guidelines for how this alliance operates. We want to create a partnership that respects both cultures equally." Vaxen interjected, "That's why these discussions are vital. We need to create a framework that addresses these fears and promotes transparency. If we can agree on shared values, we'll be better equipped to navigate the challenges ahead." As the night wore on, participants began to share personal stories that illustrated the challenges they faced. Rylan spoke about his family's history and their connection to the land, while a Xelorian named Zira shared tales of her ancestors' wisdom in harmony with nature. "Both our cultures have faced hardships," Zira said passionately. "We can learn from each other's resilience. Our stories are intertwined, even if they come from different places." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Vaxen sensed a shift, a growing understanding that despite their differences, they shared common experiences. As the evening progressed, participants began to brainstorm collaborative projects that could bridge the divide. They discussed initiatives focused on education, environmental protection, and cultural preservation. Kale suggested, "What if we create a community garden that incorporates both human and Xelorian plants? It could serve as a living representation of our partnership." Lyra chimed in, "That's a great idea. We can host workshops there, teaching each other about our agricultural practices." Vaxen felt a spark of excitement. A community garden could symbolize growth and cooperation. "Let's explore this idea further and see how we can make it happen." The roundtable discussions continued for several weeks, fostering a sense of camaraderie. Each meeting allowed participants to express their concerns, share their stories, and collaborate on solutions. Over time, the initial skepticism began to fade, replaced by curiosity and a desire for connection. As Vaxen and Kale worked closely together, a friendship formed between them, grounded in mutual respect. Kale's willingness to engage with skeptics helped bridge the gap, and Vaxen appreciated his perspective. One evening, as they reviewed notes from the latest meeting, Kale remarked, "I never imagined this alliance could lead to such meaningful conversations. We're building something real." Vaxen nodded, feeling a sense of responsibility for nurturing this progress. "It's a testament to what happens when we listen and engage with one another. We're making strides." With the Community Garden initiative gaining momentum, the council met to finalize the details. They gathered at the garden site, envisioning the vibrant space they hoped to create. Elena pulled out a large piece of paper, sketching out a layout for the garden. "We can designate areas for both Xelorian and human plants, allowing us to share our knowledge and practices." Rylan added, "We could also create spaces for community gatherings, ensuring that the garden serves as a hub for education and celebration." As they discussed logistics, Vaxen felt a sense of urgency. "Let's set a date for the garden's official opening. We can invite both communities to celebrate this milestone together." When the groundbreaking day arrived, excitement filled the air. Residents from both communities gathered, eager to witness the beginning of a shared project. Vaxen stood before the crowd, flanked by Kale, Elena, and Elder Thalen. Today, we take a significant step toward uniting our communities, Vaxen announced, his voice filled with enthusiasm. The community garden represents our commitment to cooperation, understanding, and respect for one another's traditions. Kale stepped forward, addressing the crowd with sincerity. This garden will be a space for growth both in terms of plants and in the relationships we cultivate here. Let's honor our cultures as we work side by side. The crowd cheered, and Vaxen felt a surge of hope. Together, they began to dig and plant, laughter and chatter echoing in the air. As the weeks turned into months, the community garden blossomed into a vibrant tapestry of colors and scents. Residents collaborated to nurture the plants, sharing techniques and stories as they worked. The garden became a symbol of their alliance, a living testament to what they could achieve together. Vaxen often visited the garden, relishing the sense of community that had formed. One afternoon, as he walked through the rows of flourishing plants, he spotted Rylan and Kale deep in conversation, discussing sustainable practices. "It's incredible to see how this garden has brought us all together," Vaxen remarked, joining them. "We're learning from each other every day." Rylan nodded. "I never expected to be sharing techniques with a Xelorian. This is what collaboration looks like." Kale smiled, his demeanor relaxed. "And it's only the beginning. I'm excited to see where this alliance takes us." With the success of the garden, the council decided to host a series of cultural celebrations to further strengthen ties. They planned events that showcased both Xelorian and human traditions, inviting residents to share their stories, music, and food. The first celebration took place under the stars, with fairy lights strung through the trees, casting a warm glow over the gathering. Vaxen felt a sense of joy as families mingled, children played, and laughter filled the air. As the evening progressed, Elena took the stage, addressing the crowd. "Tonight, we celebrate not just our differences, but our shared values. Let's continue to build connections and understanding through these gatherings." Performances followed, featuring music and dance from both cultures. Vaxen watched as residents embraced one another's traditions, forming new friendships and deepening their connections. However, as the celebrations continued, Vaxen couldn't shake a lingering unease. He had noticed whispers among some community members, rumors that suggested not everyone was on board with the alliance. One evening, while preparing for the next celebration, he overheard Jerk speaking with a small group of skeptics. "We need to protect our culture. This alliance is changing everything, and not all change is good." Vaxen felt a knot tighten in his stomach. While progress had been made, it was clear that the alliance remained vulnerable to dissent. He knew he had to address these concerns head-on. The following council meeting focused on addressing the skepticism surrounding the alliance. Vaxen opened the discussion, wanting to tackle the challenges openly. "I've heard concerns about the impact of our alliance on our cultural identities," he began. "Let's address these issues directly. What are your fears, and how can we respond?" Jerk spoke up again, his voice filled with apprehension. "I worry that we'll lose our traditions to make way for Xelorian practices. We need to prioritize our values." Kale leaned in, ready to respond. "It's important to acknowledge these fears, but let's remember that our goal is to create a partnership that enriches both cultures. We can honor our traditions while also embracing new ideas." Elena added, "Perhaps we could establish a cultural preservation committee to ensure that our traditions are documented and celebrated. That way, we can safeguard our identities." Vaxen felt a sense of relief as the conversation shifted toward solutions. A cultural preservation committee could be a powerful step forward. It would give us a platform to celebrate our histories and ensure they're not lost in the face of change. The council members nodded, and discussions flourished as they brainstormed the committee's structure. By the end of the meeting, a sense of optimism filled the room, and Vaxen felt encouraged by the collaborative spirit. In the following weeks, the Cultural Preservation Committee was formed, and plans were set in motion to document the histories and traditions of both communities. They organize workshops, inviting residents to share their stories, recipes, and customs. As the committee flourished, Vaxen felt the weight of responsibility lifting. The alliance was evolving, and with each initiative, they were reinforcing their commitment to one another. As the annual Harvest Festival approached, Vaxen and the council decided to incorporate elements from both cultures into the celebration. It would be a grand opportunity to showcase their alliance to the wider community. Elena. As the annual Harvest Festival approached, excitement buzzed through the combined communities of humans and Xelorians. Vaxen, Elena, and Kale met regularly to finalize plans, ensuring that the event would truly reflect the spirit of their alliance. This festival has the potential to be transformative, Vaxen said, surveying the vibrant decorations being set up in the town square. It's our chance to showcase not just our cultures, but the unity we've built. Elena, hanging lanterns adorned with symbols from both cultures, nodded enthusiastically. We should feature traditional games from both sides, along with food stalls showcasing our culinary delights. Let's celebrate our diversity. Kale leaned against a wooden post, arms crossed. And we must include storytelling sessions. Sharing our histories will help everyone appreciate where we come from. Vaxen smiled, grateful for their commitment. Exactly. Let's ensure that every element of the festival honors both our heritages. In the days leading up to the festival, the town square transformed into a kaleidoscope of colors. Stalls were constructed, showcasing handmade crafts, artwork, and traditional foods. Residents from both communities worked side by side, laughter and camaraderie filling the air. As Vaxen helped set up a booth featuring Xelorian crafts, he marveled at the friendships that had formed. Humans and Xelorians exchanged techniques, sharing skills and stories. It was a tangible representation of their alliance, a living testament to the work they had done together. "Look at this," Rylan called out, holding up a string of vibrant Xelorian beads. "I never thought I'd be making jewelry with a Xelorian." A nearby Xelorian artisan, Lyra, chuckled. "And I never thought I'd be teaching a human about our beadwork. This is what it's all about." When the day of the Harvest Festival finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric. Families from both communities gathered, their faces beaming with anticipation. Vaxen stood at the entrance, greeting everyone with a smile. "Welcome to our first collaborative Harvest Festival," he announced, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Today, we celebrate not just the bounty of our harvests, but the richness of our cultures and the strength of our alliance." As the opening ceremony commenced, performers from both cultures took to the stage. Traditional dances filled the air with rhythm, while musicians played melodies that intertwined Xelorian and human styles. The audience clapped and cheered, reveling in the shared joy. Throughout the day, the festival showcased a myriad of activities. There were cooking demonstrations, where humans taught Xelorians how to make hearty stews, while Xelorians introduced humans to their delicate pastries made from rare herbs. Children dashed between booths, excitedly participating in games that combined elements from both cultures. They played tug-of-war, combining traditional Xelorian strategies with human teamwork, and laughter echoed throughout the square. During the storytelling sessions, elders from both communities shared tales of resilience, love, and hope. Vaxen listened intently, captivated by the wisdom being passed down. An elder named Talon began. "Once, our people lived in harmony with the land, guided by the spirits of nature. We learned that respect for the earth is our greatest strength." Elena followed, sharing a human tale of community and cooperation. "In our village, we celebrate the harvest not just for the food we gather, but for the bonds we forge in working together." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Vaxen felt a sense of fulfillment. This festival was more than just an event, it was a turning point in their journey toward unity. However, as he walked through the festival grounds, he noticed a small group of skeptics lingering at the edge. Their expressions were tense, and he felt a flicker of concern. Approaching them, Vaxen greeted them warmly. "I'm glad to see you all here. What do you think of the festival?" Jer crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. It's all very nice, but I still feel like our traditions are being overshadowed. We've worked hard to maintain our identity, and I worry this will dilute it. Vaxen took a deep breath, recognizing the importance of addressing their concerns. I understand your fears, Jarek. This festival is meant to celebrate both cultures equally. We want to showcase our histories, not erase them. Your voice is vital in ensuring that this alliance honors our identities. As the evening continued, the crowd began to gather for the final performances. Vaxen returned to the main stage, feeling a sense of urgency to reaffirm the festival's purpose. Thank you all for joining us today, he said, his voice steady. This festival represents the hard work and dedication of both our communities. We are not here to replace one another, but to learn, share, and grow together. He paused, allowing his words to sink in. If there are concerns about losing our identities, let's discuss them openly. We are stronger when we communicate and collaborate. Kale stepped forward, joining Vaxen on stage. Let's remember that this partnership is about balance. We can honor our past while forging a brighter future together. The audience responded with applause, and Vaxen felt a wave of relief wash over him. As the final performances unfolded, the mood shifted from uncertainty to celebration. Humans and Xelorians cheered for each other's traditions, and the air was filled with a sense of unity. Later that night, as the festival reached its climax, fireworks lit the sky. Vaxen stood alongside Elena and Kale, gazing at the colorful burst above. I never imagined we could create something so beautiful together, Elena said, her eyes shining. This festival truly showcases the heart of our alliance. Kale nodded, a smile spreading across his face. It's a reminder of what we can achieve when we work. As the festival came to a close, Vaxen felt a mix of joy and apprehension. The event had been a success, yet he knew that the road ahead would still have its challenges. A few days later, Vaxen gathered with the council to discuss the festival's outcomes. While the Harvest Festival was a tremendous success, we must remain vigilant. The concerns expressed by some members of our community are valid, and we need to address them. Elder Thalen spoke up, his voice calm yet firm. It's important to foster open communication. We must continue to engage skeptics in dialogue and ensure that our traditions are celebrated. Rylan added, maybe we could establish regular community forums, allowing everyone to voice their thoughts and concerns. This way, we can maintain transparency. Vaxen nodded, feeling encouraged by the council's commitment. Let's prioritize these discussions. Building trust takes time, but it's essential for the longevity of our alliance. In the weeks that followed, Vaxen and the council organized a series of community forums. They aimed to create safe spaces for open dialogue, where residents could express their thoughts and feelings about the alliance. During the first forum, Vaxen opened the floor for discussion. Thank you all for coming. This is a space for honesty and respect. Let's share our concerns and work together towards solutions. A human woman named Mira spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. I love the idea of collaboration, but I'm worried about how our children will perceive our traditions. Will they be taught to value our history? Vaxen responded earnestly. That's a valid concern, Mira. We are committed to ensuring that both cultures are celebrated in our schools and community programs. We'll develop educational initiatives that honor our histories. Kale added, we can also involve both Xelorian and human educators in curriculum development. It's crucial that our children grow up with a sense of pride in both cultures. As the forums continued, Vaxen felt a shift in the community. People were becoming more engaged, sharing their stories and concerns, and actively participating in the dialogue. The alliance was evolving into something more robust, grounded in mutual respect. However, challenges still arose. One evening, during a particularly heated forum, Jarek expressed his frustration. I feel like our voices are being drowned out. We need to prioritize our culture, or we risk losing it entirely. Vaxen recognized the urgency in Jarek's tone. I hear you, Jerk. We must ensure that our Cultural Preservation Committee actively engages with the community. Let's create a space where everyone feels heard. Elena, sitting beside Vaxen, interjected. We can also establish smaller discussion groups, focusing on specific concerns. That way, we can dive deeper into each issue and develop targeted solutions. In the following months, Vaxen and the Council worked tirelessly to implement the ideas generated during the forums. They formed smaller discussion groups, ensuring that every voice had the opportunity to be heard. As the discussions unfolded, a sense of unity began to permeate the community. People from both sides worked collaboratively to create initiatives that highlighted their shared values while honoring their distinct identities. One afternoon, as Vaxen walked through the community garden, he spotted children from both cultures playing together, their laughter echoing through the air. He felt a swell of pride. This was the future they. With the Harvest Festival behind them, the communities of humans and Xelorians found themselves in a new season, one characterized by hope and determination. The dialogue sparked by the festival continued to flourish, leading to fresh initiatives aimed at fostering deeper connections between the two cultures. Vaxen stood in the community garden, which had become a thriving symbol of their alliance. The garden was lush, brimming with both human vegetables and Xelorian herbs. He watched as children from both communities played among the rows, their laughter ringing through the air like music. It's amazing to see them so carefree, Elena said, joining Vaxen in the garden. This space has become a sanctuary for understanding and friendship. Vaxen nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. We're planting more than just seeds here. We're nurturing the future. Later that week, Vaxen convened a meeting with the council to discuss their next steps. Our community forums have yielded valuable insights, and I believe it's time we put some of these ideas into action, he began, looking around the table at the eager faces of his fellow council members. Rylan leaned forward, his expression determined. We should create a cultural exchange program for our children. It would allow them to learn about each other's traditions firsthand. Kale nodded enthusiastically. That's a fantastic idea. Imagine how much they would grow from spending time in each other's homes, sharing meals, and participating in each other's customs. Elena chimed in. We can also organize workshops where adults can learn skills from one another. This will help bridge the gap between generations. Vaxen smiled, feeling a surge of optimism. Let's develop a comprehensive plan. Our goal is to create lasting relationships and ensure that both cultures are respected and celebrated. As the council worked on the cultural exchange program, Vaxen and Elena decided to host a gathering for families to introduce the initiative. They set up the event in the community garden, using the vibrant backdrop to emphasize the importance of growth in relationships. On the day of the gathering, families from both communities arrived, curious about the new program. Vaxen stood at the entrance, welcoming everyone with a smile. Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to introduce a cultural exchange program designed to foster friendships and understanding between our children, he announced, feeling the energy in the air. Elena stepped forward, her enthusiasm contagious. This program will allow our kids to experience each other's traditions, learn new skills, and build connections that will last a lifetime. As Vaxen looked around, he noticed a mix of excitement and apprehension in the crowd. He understood that not everyone was on board with the idea, and he was prepared to address those concerns. After the introduction, Vaxen opened the floor for questions. A human father, his brow furrowed, raised his hand. What if our children feel pressured to choose one culture over the other? We don't want them to lose sight of their roots. Vaxen met his gaze, appreciating the concern. That's a valid worry, and we've taken it into account. This program is about celebrating both cultures equally. Our goal is to help children embrace their identities, not to force them to choose. A Xelorian mother spoke up, her voice soft but firm. How will we ensure that our traditions are respected in this exchange? I fear that we'll be overshadowed. Elena responded, her tone reassuring. We'll establish guidelines that prioritize respect for both cultures. This exchange is about learning, not diminishing one another. We'll create a safe space where every voice is valued. As discussions unfolded, Vaxen felt a gradual shift in the atmosphere. Parents began to see the potential for their children to learn from one another, and the initial skepticism began to dissolve. After the gathering, Vaxen and the council worked diligently to finalize the details of the cultural exchange program. They created a framework that outlined how the exchanges would be structured, ensuring that both cultures would be represented fairly. The first exchanges were set to take place during the upcoming school break. Families signed up to host children from the other culture, eager to share their traditions and create lasting memories. As the day of the first exchange arrived, Vaxen stood at the entrance of the community center, where families gathered for the send-off. Excitement buzzed in the air, and he could see both nervousness and enthusiasm etched on the faces of the children. "Welcome, everyone," he called out, raising his voice above the chatter. "Today marks a significant step in our journey. Let's make the most of this opportunity to learn from one another." Elena, standing beside him, added, "Each of you will have the chance to experience a different culture firsthand. Remember, this is about friendship and understanding." The children were paired up with their hosts, and Vaxen watched as they exchanged shy smiles and hesitant waves. He hoped that these initial moments would blossom into deep connections. The following week, the cultural exchange program kicked off with various activities planned for the children. Vaxen visited several homes, witnessing the magic of the exchange unfold. At Ryland's house, a group of children from both communities gathered in the kitchen. Ryland was teaching them how to make his family's traditional stew, explaining the significance of each ingredient. "Food is a way to share our stories," Ryland said, stirring the pot. "Each flavor has a meaning, just like our traditions." Meanwhile, at Kale's home, Xelorian children were teaching their human counterparts about their unique art forms. They sat together, crafting intricate designs using natural materials. "This is a symbol of unity," a young Xelorian girl explained, her eyes shining. "When we create together, we're weaving our stories into one." However, not every interaction was seamless. Vaxen received reports of some misunderstandings that highlighted lingering cultural differences. During one exchange, a human child accidentally mispronounced a Xelorian word, leading to hurt feelings among the Xelorian kids. Vaxen felt a sense of urgency to address these issues. He called an impromptu meeting with the exchange families to discuss the challenges they had faced. As families gathered, Vaxen opened the floor for discussion. "I appreciate everyone coming together. It's important we address any concerns or misunderstandings. This program is meant to foster understanding, but we're bound to encounter bumps along the way." A Xelorian father, looking concerned, spoke up. "We need to find a way to teach our children about the nuances of our cultures. It's not just about the activities, it's about understanding the values behind them." Elena interjected, "Perhaps we could organize cultural sensitivity workshops for both parents and children. It could help everyone navigate these exchanges more smoothly." The idea resonated with the families, and they began brainstorming ways to implement the workshops. Vaxen felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were learning and growing together, just as they had intended. In the following weeks, they organized workshops focused on cultural understanding, communication, and respect. Parents and children alike participated, eager to learn how to better appreciate each other's backgrounds. As Vaxen facilitated the discussions, he witnessed transformation unfold. Parents began sharing their own stories, creating an atmosphere of vulnerability and openness. "I grew up with a deep connection to nature," a human mother shared. "My family always celebrated the changing seasons. It's important to me that my children understand that heritage." A Xelorian father added, "In our culture, we believe that every action has a ripple effect on the community. Teaching our children about interdependence is vital." The workshops led to deeper discussions about shared values, and Vaxen felt a sense of pride in how the communities were evolving together. As families engaged in these conversations, connections began to form that transcended cultural boundaries. One day, after a particularly insightful workshop, Vaxen and Elena reflected on the progress they had made. "I can't believe how far we've come," Elena said, her eyes shining. "These workshops have opened up conversations that we never thought possible." Vaxen nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude for the journey they had embarked on. "We're building a foundation of trust and understanding. It's not always easy, but it's worth it." With the cultural exchange program flourishing, Vaxen and the council began planning the next phase of their initiatives. They discussed the importance of celebrating the progress they had made while remaining aware of the work that still lay ahead. "We should host a showcase event to highlight the achievements of our exchange program," Ryland suggested. "It could be a day of presentations where children share what they've learned from each other." Kale added, "We can also include performances that showcase the traditions of both cultures. It's a way to celebrate our journey and reinforce our commitment to each other." Elena clapped her hands together, her excitement palpable. "Let's set a date and make it a celebration of unity." As the day of the showcase event approached, the excitement in the community was palpable. Families decorated the community center, creating an inviting atmosphere that reflected both cultures. On the day of the event, the center buzzed with activity. Children proudly displayed their projects, sharing stories about their exchanges with their peers. Some even donned traditional attire, showcasing the beauty of their heritage. The day of the showcase event dawned bright and sunny, casting a warm glow over the community center. Banners adorned with colorful designs from both cultures flapped gently in the breeze, creating an atmosphere of celebration and camaraderie. Vaxen stood at the entrance, welcoming families as they arrived, excitement evident in their voices. "Welcome, everyone. Today is a day to celebrate our children and the incredible journey we've embarked on together," Vaxen announced, his heart swelling with pride. Elena joined him, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "We're thrilled to see everyone's hard work come to life. Let's make this a day to remember." As the event began, Vaxen took the stage alongside Kale and Elena. The audience buzzed with anticipation. "Today, we'll witness the fruits of our cultural exchange program," Vaxen began, his voice strong. "Our children have worked tirelessly to learn about each other's traditions, and we're excited to showcase their creativity and growth." Kale stepped forward, his expression earnest. "This event is a testament to our commitment to understanding and embracing one another. Let's celebrate not just our differences, but our shared values." The crowd erupted in applause, and the atmosphere grew even more vibrant. Throughout the community center, various exhibits displayed the children's projects. One corner featured handmade crafts that blended elements from both cultures. A group of children demonstrated a dance that incorporated Xelorian movements and human rhythms, their smiles infectious. Vaxen wandered among the exhibits, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He stopped to admire a display of artwork created by children who had spent time together learning different painting techniques. "This is incredible," he exclaimed, examining a piece that merged Xelorian landscapes with human cityscapes. A young girl named Mia, beaming with pride, explained, "We painted this together. It shows how our worlds can come together." "Absolutely," Vaxen replied, his heart warming at the display of unity. Nearby, a storytelling corner had been set up, where children took turns sharing stories they had learned from each other. Vaxen watched as a human boy named Leo recounted a Xelorian fable about harmony with nature, while a Xelorian girl named Lyra shared a human tale of resilience. "This story teaches us that even in difficult times, we can find strength in our community," Leo said, his voice steady. Lyra added, "And this story reminds us to cherish our connections with the earth. We're all part of something greater." Vaxen felt a lump in his throat as he listened to their stories. The children were not just learning about each other. They were embodying the essence of their cultures. As the showcase continued, the audience gathered for a series of performances. Dancers took the stage, their movements graceful as they merged traditional dances from both cultures. The blend of styles created a captivating spectacle that left the audience in awe. After the dance, a group of children presented a musical piece that combined Xelorian instruments with human melodies. The harmonious sounds filled the room, enveloping everyone in a sense of unity. As the final performance concluded, Vaxen felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Our children have shown us the beauty of collaboration. They remind us that together, we can create something truly extraordinary. After the performances, families mingled, sharing their thoughts and experiences. Vaxen took the opportunity to engage in conversations, eager to hear how the event had impacted everyone. A human father named Tomas approached him, his eyes gleaming with appreciation. "This has been incredible. My daughter has become so excited about learning Xelorian customs. It's like she's found a new world." Vaxen smiled, feeling a sense of validation. "That's wonderful to hear, Tomas. This is just the beginning of a lifelong journey of understanding." Nearby, a Xelorian mother, Saren, nodded in agreement. "My son has made friends he never would have met otherwise. This program has opened doors for us all." As the event began to wind down, Vaxen took the stage one final time. "Thank you all for being here today. Your participation has made this event a success. But let's remember, this is just a stepping stone. We must continue to build on this momentum." Elena joined him, her voice passionate. "We have the opportunity to create a legacy of unity and respect for future generations. Let's commit to nurturing these connections." The audience erupted in applause, and Vaxen felt a surge of hope. They were on the right path. Despite the success of the showcase, Vaxen was aware that not all feelings of skepticism had disappeared. In the days following the event, he received messages from some community members expressing concern about the sustainability of their efforts. During a council meeting, Vaxen addressed these concerns head-on. "We've accomplished so much, but we need to ensure that this momentum doesn't fade. What strategies can we implement to maintain our progress?" Ryland spoke up, his tone serious. "We should establish ongoing cultural exchange activities, maybe even seasonal events that bring everyone together regularly." Kale added, "And we need to create platforms for continued dialogue. It's essential that our communities feel involved in the decision-making process." Inspired by their discussions, Vaxen and the Council developed a plan for ongoing cultural initiatives. They aimed to create a calendar of events that would encourage regular interaction between the communities, along with workshops focused on cultural education and awareness. As they finalized the details, Vaxen felt a sense of excitement. They were not just creating events, they were fostering a way of life that celebrated diversity. In the following months, the community garden became a focal point for many of these initiatives. Vaxen and Elena organized gardening workshops where families could learn to cultivate plants native to both cultures, blending their agricultural practices. One Saturday afternoon, families gathered in the garden, their laughter echoing as they planted seeds side by side. Vaxen watched the interactions unfold, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. This space was becoming a living testament to their unity. As children dug their hands into the soil, a young Xelorian girl named Anya turned to her human friend, Sam. "Look, we're growing together." "Yeah," Sam replied, grinning, "and our plants will be friends too." However, as the initiatives progressed, a new challenge arose. Some community members began to express concerns about resource allocation. Rumors spread about favoritism in funding, leading to a divide that threatened the progress they had made. Vaxen became aware of the tensions during a community meeting. Jerk stood up, his voice laced with frustration. "We need to address this issue. It feels like some projects are receiving more attention than others, and it's causing resentment." Elena quickly interjected, "I understand your concerns, Jerk, but our intention has always been to support both cultures equally." Vaxen took a deep breath, knowing the importance of addressing this matter head-on. "We need to create a transparent process for resource allocation. Everyone deserves to feel heard and valued." In the following weeks, Vaxen and the council worked diligently to reassess their priorities. They held open forums to discuss resource distribution, inviting community members to voice their concerns and suggestions. During one forum, a human woman named Leela spoke passionately. "I believe we need to focus on projects that benefit both communities equally. If we can find common ground, we can heal these divisions." A Xelorian elder, Aaron, nodded in agreement. "We've all worked too hard to let misunderstandings fracture our progress. Let's prioritize initiatives that foster collaboration." With the feedback from the community, Vaxen and the council established clear guidelines for resource allocation, ensuring that every project was evaluated fairly. They also created a committee tasked with overseeing the implementation of these guidelines. As trust began to be restored, Vaxen felt a renewed sense of hope. They were learning to navigate challenges together, and that resilience would strengthen their alliance. As seasons changed, the community garden flourished, mirroring the growth of their relationships. Vaxen took pride in how far they had come, but he knew that challenges would always arise. During one of the garden gatherings, he spoke to the families, his voice filled with conviction. "Just like these plants, our community requires nurturing and care. We must remain committed to fostering understanding and support for one another." Elena smiled, standing beside him. "Let's continue to sow the seeds of change and watch them blossom into something beautiful." As laughter filled the air and children played among the flowers, Vaxen felt a sense of belonging wash over him. They were creating a legacy, one rooted in unity, respect, and love for each other's cultures. In the months that followed, the community grew closer, navigating challenges with resilience and grace. Vaxen and the council remained committed to fostering dialogue, ensuring that every voice was heard. As he stood in the community garden one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant hues, Vaxen reflected on their journey. They had faced obstacles, but each challenge had strengthened their resolve. "Together, we've built something remarkable," he whispered to himself, a smile spreading across his face. As autumn settled over the community, the vibrant colors of the leaves mirrored the diversity of the cultures that now coexisted harmoniously. Vaxen often found himself in the community garden, where families gathered to celebrate the season's bounty. It was a time of reflection, growth, and, most importantly, anticipation for what lay ahead. One crisp afternoon, Vaxen and Elena prepared for a seasonal gathering, one that would commemorate their journey while looking forward to future collaborations. The sun bathed the garden in a golden hue as families arrived, their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. "Welcome, everyone," Vaxen called out, standing on a makeshift stage made of wooden crates. "Today, we gather not just to celebrate our harvest, but to honor the bonds we've cultivated over these past months." Elena joined him, her eyes sparkling. "We've made remarkable strides together. Let's take a moment to share our stories and celebrate our achievements." As the afternoon unfolded, families shared their experiences from the cultural exchange program. A human mother named Clara stood up, her voice steady as she spoke. "My daughter participated in the exchange, and it changed her perspective. She now sees the world through a different lens, one filled with appreciation for diversity." A Xelorian father, Alar, nodded in agreement. "We've also learned so much. My son has made friends who have broadened his understanding of the human world. These connections are invaluable." Vaxen listened intently as more families shared their stories, each one a testament to the power of unity and collaboration. The garden, once just a patch of soil, had transformed into a living symbol of their commitment to each other. As dusk approached, the gathering shifted to the heart of the garden. Families worked together to harvest vegetables and herbs, their hands working in rhythm. Vaxen noticed how effortlessly the children blended their efforts, chatting and laughing as they collected the fruits of their labor. "Look, I found the biggest carrot," shouted a young Xelorian boy named Terk, holding up his prize with glee. "That's nothing. Check out my pumpkin," Mia, the human girl, replied, her eyes wide with excitement. Vaxen smiled, watching the children interact. This was the future they had envisioned, a generation that would grow up understanding and respecting one another. Just as the celebration was in full swing, a figure approached from the edge of the garden. It was Jerk, his expression serious. Vaxen felt a ripple of unease pass through the crowd as Jerk stepped forward. "Can we have a moment to talk?" he asked, his voice low but firm. Vaxen nodded, gesturing for him to continue. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Jerk took a deep breath, glancing at the families around them. "I appreciate the progress we've made, but I'm concerned about how we're perceived by others in the community. There are still skeptics who believe our efforts are misguided." Vaxen's brow furrowed. "What do you suggest we do?" Jerk continued, his voice steady. "We need to be more transparent about our initiatives. Let's hold open forums where everyone can voice their concerns. It's crucial that we address the skepticism head-on." Elena interjected. "That's a great idea. We can create a space for dialogue where all voices are heard." Vaxen nodded in agreement. "Let's plan a series of community forums to ensure everyone feels included in the conversation. We can't afford to let misunderstandings fester." The weight of Jerk's words lingered in the air, and Vaxen knew they had to act quickly to maintain the unity they had worked so hard to build. In the following days, the council met to plan the community forums. Vaxen took the lead, emphasizing the importance of fostering open communication. "We need to create an environment where everyone feels safe to share their thoughts and concerns," he said, looking around the room. Rylan, always passionate about community involvement, chimed in. "We can set a schedule for these forums, perhaps hosting them in various locations to encourage participation." Kale added, "And we should invite representatives from both cultures to facilitate discussions. It'll help reinforce that we're in this together." With their plans in motion, Vaxen felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were committed to addressing the skepticism, ensuring that their alliance would endure. The first community forum took place in the community center, drawing a mix of residents from both cultures. Vaxen stood at the front, addressing the crowd. "Thank you all for coming. This forum is a space for us to discuss our journey and address any concerns you may have." The atmosphere was tense as Vaxen scanned the room, noticing both eager and wary faces. "Let's create an open dialogue. Who would like to start?" A human woman named Sarah raised her hand, her voice trembling slightly. "I appreciate what you're doing, but I worry about how our resources are being shared. It sometimes feels like we're losing our identity in this process." Vaxen nodded thoughtfully. "Thank you for sharing that concern. It's essential that we ensure both cultures are represented fairly in all initiatives. We're here to listen and work together." A Xelorian elder, Nira, spoke up next. "We've made significant progress, but some of us are still unsure about how our traditions are being honored. We need to clarify how both cultures will be celebrated equally." The forum continued, with residents voicing their concerns and sharing their hopes. Vaxen felt the tension begin to ease as community members listened to one another. He realized that these discussions were a crucial step in building trust and understanding. As the evening progressed, more people contributed to the dialogue, expressing their frustrations but also their appreciation for the progress they had made. Vaxen felt a sense of relief as he watched the crowd engage with one another, finding common ground. By the end of the forum, Vaxen looked around the room, filled with a sense of accomplishment. "Thank you all for your honesty and participation. Let's take what we've discussed here today and work towards a more inclusive future." In the following weeks, the council took the feedback from the forums to heart. They revised their plans for cultural initiatives, ensuring that both communities would have equal representation and that traditions would be celebrated without overshadowing one another. Vaxen felt a renewed sense of determination as they organized events that highlighted the unique aspects of each culture. They planned seasonal festivals that honored the harvest from both communities, allowing everyone to share in the bounty. As the winter season approached, the council prepared for a festival that would celebrate the coming together of both cultures. They aimed to create an event that reflected their shared values while honoring their individual identities. As the Festival of Unity approached, excitement buzzed throughout the community. Families prepared traditional dishes, decorated their homes, and practiced performances that showcased their cultures. Vaxen and Elena worked tirelessly to ensure that every detail was in place. On the day of the festival, the community center was transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors, sounds, and aromas. Stalls featured crafts and foods from both cultures, and families mingled, eager to share their heritage. Vaxen took a moment to step back and observe the scene. Laughter filled the air as children ran between the booths, their faces painted with joy. It was a heartwarming sight, a testament to the unity they had fostered. As the sun began to set, Vaxen gathered everyone for the opening ceremony. Welcome to the Festival of Unity. Today, we celebrate our shared journey, our connections, and the beauty of our differences. Elena stood beside him, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. Let's take this opportunity to learn from one another, to celebrate our traditions, and to create memories that will last a lifetime. The crowd erupted in applause, and Vaxen felt a surge of hope. They were truly building something special. The festival featured performances that highlighted the richness of both cultures. Children danced, singers filled the air with melodies, and storytellers captivated the audience with tales that bridged their worlds. Vaxen's heart swelled with pride as he watched families share their traditions with one another. A Xelorian girl performed a traditional dance, and a group of human boys accompanied her with music. The seamless blend of styles showcased the harmony they had achieved. "Look how far we've come," Elena whispered, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Indeed," Vaxen replied, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "This is just the beginning." As the festival continued, families gathered around bonfires, sharing stories and laughter. Vaxen found himself seated with a group of children, their faces light by the flickering flames. "What's your favorite part of the festival?" a young boy named Leo asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Vaxen smiled, thinking for a moment. "I love how we can all come together, regardless of our backgrounds. It reminds me of the importance of friendship." A Xelorian girl named Lyra chimed in, "And I love the stories. They teach us about each other." Vaxen nodded in agreement. Stories are powerful. They connect us and help us understand our shared humanity. As the night wore, as winter settled in, the community felt the chill of the air, but also the warmth of camaraderie that had grown throughout the past year. The Festival of Unity had been a resounding success, yet Vaxen understood that maintaining this spirit required ongoing effort. They had made significant strides, but the journey was far from over. The community council convened one evening to discuss their next steps. Vaxen looked around the table, noting the determined expressions on everyone's faces. "We've seen the impact of our initiatives, but we need to stay vigilant. The next few months will be crucial as we face the challenges winter can bring." Elena nodded, her voice filled with resolve. "Let's focus on ways to keep our communities engaged during this season. We should plan events that allow families to come together and continue fostering understanding." After much discussion, the council decided to organize a winter gathering, a series of activities designed to celebrate the season while highlighting the traditions of both cultures. Vaxen envisioned a cozy atmosphere filled with storytelling, crafts, and shared meals. As the planning progressed, Ryland suggested incorporating a cultural exchange corner, where families could learn about one another's winter traditions. "This could be a fun way to share and celebrate our unique customs," he proposed. "That's a great idea," Kale agreed. "It'll allow families to participate actively and learn something new." With the plans in motion, excitement buzzed in the community. Families began preparing their contributions: Xelorian delicacies, human pastries, and handmade crafts. Vaxen noticed a renewed sense of enthusiasm as everyone collaborated, transforming the community center into a festive haven. As the date of the gathering approached, Vaxen reflected on the significance of these efforts. "We're not just celebrating winter, we're reinforcing the bonds we've created," he thought, feeling the weight of responsibility. On the day of the winter gathering, families streamed into the community center, their faces bright with anticipation. The space was adorned with twinkling lights, garlands of evergreen, and tables overflowing with food from both cultures. "Welcome, everyone," Vaxen called out as he stepped onto the stage, his heart pounding with excitement. "Today, we come together to celebrate our shared journey and to learn from one another. Let's make this a memorable day." Elena joined him, beaming at the crowd. "We've prepared a variety of activities, so let's dive in and enjoy everything our community has to offer." The cultural exchange corner quickly became a focal point of the gathering. Families gathered around tables, engaged in hands-on activities that highlighted each culture's winter traditions. Vaxen watched as children from both backgrounds teamed up to create ornaments, combining human techniques with Xelorian designs. "Look at this one," Mia exclaimed, holding up an ornament adorned with intricate patterns. "We did it together." "Yeah, it looks amazing," Terk responded, his eyes shining with pride. Vaxen felt a surge of joy as he witnessed the children learning from one another. These interactions were essential for fostering a sense of belonging and understanding. As evening approached, Vaxen led everyone outside for a storytelling session beneath the stars. Families gathered around a fire pit, the crackling flames casting a warm glow over the crowd. "Tonight, we'll share stories from our cultures that reflect the spirit of winter," Vaxen announced. "These tales have been passed down through generations, and they remind us of the values we hold dear." One by one, storytellers stepped forward, weaving narratives that captured the essence of their traditions. A Xelorian elder spoke of the winter solstice, a time of reflection and renewal, while a human grandmother shared a tale about the importance of family during the cold months. As Vaxen listened to the stories, he marveled at how they intertwined. They all emphasized themes of unity, hope, and resilience, reinforcing the very values they had worked to promote. Just as the storytelling reached its peak, a sudden gust of wind swept through the gathering, scattering papers and knocking over decorations. The mood shifted as families rushed to secure their belongings. Vaxen felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. "We need to ensure everyone is safe and comfortable," he said, stepping forward to address the crowd. "Let's gather inside and continue our stories there. We'll make sure everyone has a warm place to share." As families filed back into the community center, Vaxen glanced at Elena, who was organizing the tables. "We can't let a little wind ruin our gathering," he said, determination in his voice. Elena smiled reassuringly. "We've built this community on resilience. Let's show them how strong we are together." Inside, the atmosphere shifted as families settled in, finding comfort in one another's company. Vaxen took the opportunity to reflect on the challenges they had faced, both individually and as a community. "Tonight has shown us that even in the face of adversity, we have each other," he said, his voice resonating with warmth. "We've created a space where everyone belongs, and that's something to cherish." The crowd murmured in agreement, and Vaxen felt a sense of unity wash over him. They had weathered the storm, both literally and metaphorically, reinforcing their bonds even further. As the evening continued, families engaged in more activities, sharing laughter and stories. During a lull in the festivities, Kale approached Vaxen, his expression thoughtful. "I've been reflecting on our discussions from the forum," Kale said. "I think we should establish a winter mentorship program where families can pair up to share skills and traditions." "That's an excellent idea," Vaxen replied, intrigued. "We could facilitate deeper connections and allow individuals to learn directly from one another." Elena overheard their conversation and added, "This could also include workshops for cooking, crafts, and even storytelling. It's a way to ensure that our traditions continue to thrive." Vaxen nodded, envisioning the potential impact. "Let's bring this to the council. We need to keep the momentum going." In the following weeks, the council gathered to discuss the mentorship program and other initiatives that could keep the spirit of collaboration alive. Vaxen presented the idea, highlighting its potential benefits for both communities. We have an opportunity to deepen our connections and provide support to one another, he said passionately. This program will not only honor our traditions, but also build lasting friendships. Rylan leaned forward, his excitement evident. We could create a calendar of activities, allowing families to sign up for different workshops. It would foster a sense of belonging and community. As the council brainstormed, Vaxen felt a renewed sense of hope. They were committed to nurturing the unity they had cultivated, and the mentorship program was a step in the right direction. With the council's approval, preparations for the mentorship program began. Flyers were distributed throughout the community, inviting families to sign up for various workshops and activities. Vaxen felt a surge of excitement as families began to express interest. On the day of the program launch, the community center was buzzing with anticipation. Vaxen stood at the entrance, greeting families as they arrived. Welcome, everyone. Today marks the beginning of our mentorship program, where we can learn from one another and continue to grow together, he announced, his voice filled with enthusiasm. As families mingled, Vaxen observed the diversity of activities being offered. Some families gathered around a cooking station, excitedly preparing traditional dishes, while others focused on crafting handmade gifts. Throughout the day, families shared their skills and knowledge, fostering a spirit of collaboration. Vaxen watched as a Xelorian woman taught human children how to weave intricate patterns, her hands deftly guiding theirs. "This is how we create our winter blankets," she explained, her voice warm. "Each pattern tells a story." Nearby, Elena facilitated a cooking session, teaching families how to prepare a traditional stew. "Cooking is about bringing people together," she emphasized, watching as everyone eagerly participated. Vaxen felt a deep sense of fulfillment as he moved between activities, witnessing the connections forming. These moments were what they had worked so hard to create, relationships that transcended differences. As the day came to a close, Vaxen gathered everyone together for a closing circle. "Thank you all for participating in our mentorship program today," he said, his heart swelling with pride. "What we've accomplished is remarkable, and it's a testament to our commitment to unity." Elena smiled at the crowd. "Let's carry this spirit forward into the coming months. We've laid a strong foundation, and together, we can build an even brighter future." As families mingled and exchanged contact information, Vaxen felt hopeful. They were not just creating a program, they were fostering a community that valued understanding and collaboration. However, as the winter months progressed, Vaxen was aware that challenges were inevitable. As the excitement of the mentorship program began to settle, whispers of skepticism surfaced once again. Some community members expressed concerns about the sustainability of their efforts and whether their initiatives were truly benefiting everyone. During a council meeting, Rylan brought up the growing unease. "I've heard murmurs of doubt regarding our mentorship program. Some feel it's not inclusive enough." As the winter deepened, so did the unease within the community. The initial excitement of the mentorship program began to fade, replaced by lingering questions about its effectiveness and inclusivity. Vaxen sensed that the harmony they had worked so hard to achieve was at risk. In the council meeting room, tension hung in the air as the members gathered for their weekly discussion. Vaxen glanced around the table, noting the furrowed brows and exchanged glances. "We need to address the concerns surrounding the mentorship program," he said, his voice steady. "It's crucial that we listen to the community and adapt as needed." Elena nodded in agreement. "Perhaps we should hold another open forum. It's important that everyone feels heard and that we can gather constructive feedback." Rylan leaned forward. "Yes, and we should ensure that everyone knows their opinions are valued, regardless of their initial feelings about the program." As the council members began to brainstorm ideas for the open forum, Vaxen felt a weight settle on his shoulders. They were standing at a crossroads, and he was determined to steer the community in a direction that reaffirmed their commitment to unity. "We can structure the forum to include breakout sessions," he suggested. "This way, people can voice their concerns in smaller groups and feel more comfortable sharing their thoughts." Kale chimed in, and we can have facilitators from both cultures to help guide the discussions. This way, everyone will see that we're working together to find solutions. With a renewed sense of purpose, the council finalized their plans. They set the date for the forum and spread the word throughout the community, emphasizing the importance of participation. The night of the open forum arrived, and the community center buzzed with energy. Families gathered, eager to voice their thoughts and concerns. Vaxen stood at the front, his heart racing as he scanned the room filled with familiar faces. "Thank you all for coming tonight," he began, his voice echoing in the spacious hall. "We're here to listen and to discuss how we can improve our mentorship program and strengthen our community." Elena stood beside him, her presence reassuring. "This is a safe space for everyone. We want to hear your honest feedback and work together to address any issues." As Vaxen initiated the discussions, he felt a mix of anxiety and hope. He knew that the conversations could be difficult, but they were necessary for the community's growth. Families broke into smaller groups, and Vaxen moved from one session to another, keen to hear the sentiments being expressed. In one room, a group of human mothers voiced their concerns about representation. "I feel like our culture is often sidelined," one woman said, her brow furrowed. "We need to ensure that our traditions are celebrated just as much as others." Vaxen nodded, taking notes. "Your concerns are valid, and it's crucial that we create a balanced approach in our programs. Thank you for sharing this." In another group, a Xelorian elder spoke passionately. "While I appreciate the efforts made, I fear that we're not fully honoring the depth of our traditions. It's important that we showcase our culture, stories, and rituals more prominently." Vaxen listened intently, recognizing the importance of these perspectives. "We'll work on incorporating more cultural elements into our initiatives. Your voices matter in this process." After the breakout session, families reconvened to share key takeaways. Vaxen stood before the crowd, feeling the weight of their concerns, but also the potential for growth. "Thank you for your honesty tonight," he said, his voice steady. "What we've learned is invaluable. We need to ensure that both cultures feel equally represented and celebrated." Elena added, "We can't achieve true unity without understanding each other's needs. Let's commit to working together to make our mentorship program more inclusive." As families nodded in agreement, Vaxen felt a renewed sense of hope. They had opened a dialogue that would allow for healing and understanding. In the following weeks, the council met to discuss the feedback gathered from the forum. Vaxen felt a sense of urgency to implement changes that would address the community's concerns. "We should organize workshops that highlight specific cultural traditions," he suggested. "These workshops can provide a platform for both communities to share their stories and skills in a way that honors each culture." Rylan agreed. "We can also pair families based on shared interests to foster deeper connections. This way, everyone will feel included in the process." Cale raised his hand. "And we can create a cultural calendar that highlights important dates and events from both cultures. This would give everyone a chance to participate and celebrate together." With their ideas in motion, Vaxen felt the council's energy shift. They were collectively focused on a path forward, one that would reinforce their commitment to unity. As plans for the new workshops and events took shape, Vaxen worked closely with families to ensure that their cultural heritage was front and center. They organized storytelling nights, cooking classes, and craft sessions that invited participation from all. One evening, Vaxen found himself at a storytelling workshop, surrounded by eager participants. A Xelorian storyteller named Rina shared tales of her people, her voice filled with emotion. "These stories connect us to our past and remind us of our values," Rina explained. "Each story carries wisdom that can guide us in the present." Elena stood beside Vaxen, her eyes shining with appreciation. "It's incredible to see how stories can transcend boundaries," she whispered. As the workshop progressed, Vaxen felt the bonds between families grow stronger. Each shared story became a thread in the fabric of their community, weaving a narrative of understanding and resilience. The following week, Vaxen attended a cooking class led by Elena and a Xelorian chef named Joran. Families gathered in the community kitchen, eager to learn how to prepare traditional dishes from both cultures. "Cooking is an art that brings people together," Elena said as she chopped vegetables. "Let's celebrate the flavors of our cultures while learning from one another." Joran nodded, his hands deftly mixing ingredients. "Food carries the essence of our traditions. By sharing our recipes, we're sharing a piece of our culture." As families cooked side by side, laughter filled the air. Vaxen watched children eagerly learn how to prepare both human stews and Xelorian delicacies, their faces glowing with excitement. As the winter months wore on, Vaxen felt a shift in the community. The mentorship program was flourishing, and the cultural workshops had rekindled a sense of belonging among families. He could see the change in their interactions. Families were sharing meals, participating in events together, and fostering friendships that transcended cultural boundaries. One evening, as the community gathered for a potluck, Vaxen stood before the crowd, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Look at what we've accomplished together," he said, gesturing to the tables filled with diverse dishes. "These meals represent our commitment to unity and understanding." Elena smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Each dish tells a story, and tonight, we celebrate those stories." As families shared their meals, Vaxen felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had created a space where everyone belonged, where differences were celebrated, and where unity thrived. However, just as things seemed to be progressing smoothly, an unexpected challenge arose. A severe winter storm swept through the region, blanketing the community in snow and isolating families. Vaxen knew that this would test their resilience. During a council meeting held via video call, the members discussed the impact of the storm. "Many families are stranded, and we need to ensure everyone is safe," Kale said, concern etched on his face. "We should organize a community response." Rylan nodded. "We can coordinate efforts to check on families, provide supplies, and ensure everyone has what they need during this storm." Vaxen felt the weight of responsibility. "Let's set up a system for volunteers to help deliver food and supplies. We'll work together to ensure that no one is left behind." In the days following the storm, Vaxen and the council mobilized the community. Volunteers gathered at the community center, ready to distribute supplies and check on their neighbors. Vaxen felt a surge of gratitude as he watched families come together, determined to support one another. As they packed boxes of food and essentials, Elena coordinated with local businesses to secure additional supplies. "We're all in this together," she reminded everyone, her voice filled with encouragement. Vaxen noticed families from both cultures working side by side, sharing stories and laughter as they prepared to deliver aid. This moment of unity reminded him of the strength that could be found in adversity. As Vaxen and a group of volunteers set out to deliver supplies, he felt a sense of purpose. They trudged through the snow, determination driving them forward. Each house they visited brought opportunities for connection. At one home, a human family welcomed them with open arms, their gratitude palpable. "Thank you so much for coming," the mother said, her voice filled with relief. "We were starting to worry about how we'd get through this." Vaxen smiled warmly. "We're here to support each other. If you need anything else, please let us know." As they continued their rounds, Vaxen felt a profound sense. As the storm began to clear, the community emerged stronger and more united than ever. Vaxen stood at the entrance of the community center, watching families come together to help one another recover from the harsh winter. The collective spirit of resilience was palpable. One afternoon, as families gathered to share their experiences during the storm, Vaxen took a moment to reflect. He realized that the challenges they faced had only reinforced the bonds they had worked so hard to build. The mentorship program had flourished under pressure, evolving into a lifeline of support and understanding. Elena approached him, a smile brightening her face. "Can you believe how far we've come? The community is more connected now than ever." Vaxen nodded, his heart swelling with pride. It's incredible to see how we've transformed adversity into strength. Each family has contributed to this unity, and it shows in the way we interact. With spring on the horizon, the community planned a celebration to honor their journey. The Festival of Renewal would highlight their shared experiences, showcasing the richness of both cultures. Families were excited to share their stories, crafts, and traditional foods. On the day of the festival, Vaxen felt a sense of anticipation as the community center filled with laughter and joy. Colorful decorations adorned the space, and tables overflowed with dishes representing both cultures. The air was alive with the sounds of music and the mingling of voices. Vaxen took the stage, his heart racing as he addressed the crowd. Today, we celebrate not just our cultures, but the bonds we've forged through understanding and collaboration. Each one of you has played a vital role in this journey. As he spoke, he could see faces filled with warmth and pride, a testament to their shared commitment. The festival was a culmination of their hard work, a celebration of the resilience they had shown during the storm. Throughout the day, families participated in activities that highlighted their cultural heritage. Children danced, adults shared stories, and everyone contributed to a communal meal. Vaxen felt a sense of fulfillment as he moved among the crowd, witnessing the joy that permeated the air. As the sun set, casting a golden hue over the festivities, Vaxen reflected on their journey. They had faced doubts, challenges, and a severe winter storm, yet they had emerged with an unbreakable spirit of unity. In the closing moments of the festival, Elena stood beside him, her eyes shining. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" "Yes," Vaxen replied, a smile spreading across his face. "Together, we'll continue to nurture this community, ensuring that every voice is heard and every tradition is celebrated." As the festival drew to a close, families gathered for one final moment. They formed a circle, hand in hand, and Vaxen felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. They had turned a new page in their story, one filled with hope, understanding, and an unwavering commitment to one another. The warmth of the gathering lingered long after the festival ended. Vaxen knew that their journey was ongoing, but they had laid a strong foundation. With every shared story, meal, and cultural exchange, they had woven a tapestry of connection that would endure. As spring blossomed around them, so too did their commitment to unity. Vaxen looked toward the horizon, knowing that no matter the challenges that lay ahead, they would face them together. And so, in a world often fraught with division, a community had chosen to poke the bear not to provoke, but to bridge gaps, heal wounds, and create a vibrant future filled with promise.